over 78,000 demons, and against them is a single barbarian. Carrying a sword bigger than his sword, he's trapped in a binding spell by this demon. The defense is neutralized, physical abilities are nerfed, followed by a severance spell, only to set the stage for the instant delete spell that only the highest-ranking demons can use. Our protagonist has abundant abs but now lacks 50% of the arms on his body. The demon smirks and turns around, thinking that the manhwa has ended with his victory. To his surprise, our guy is still standing. Why is he still standing when he's outnumbered by 73,000%? He's fighting for the people who brought him into this war. He made a contract with angels who granted him special abilities like this Duolingo Max skill. This allows him to thoroughly enjoy doing nasty stuff to the demons. A crazy guy with abs, but the reason he went insane is because of these demons. The number of demons started falling faster than the number of people with common sense. The demons are now down to just under 14,000, whereas the lone barbarian still stands. Apart from Duolingo, the angels granted him lots of other skills as well. Not the abs though, that's his own skill. The greatest ability among them was the ability of regeneration. Even if it's his arms or legs or balls or even his head, it regenerates right away. Now you gotta feel for demons because they are up against the person who cannot die. Lots of HP versus unlimited HP. The battle may be long, but the results should be obvious. At this point, the demons are confused because this crazy maniac with abs is more demonic than them. The number goes down to 10.7k, and of course the barbarian still has the dev's blessing. The remaining 10k decided to launch a combined attack on him. Despite knowing that, our bald giant walks into their trap to finish it once and for all. He could have lived a happy life somewhere in the mountains, but he wants to wipe out these monsters because they took the lives of his family. Specifically, this Devil House demon is the root cause of this abs devil. He's also the one who lured our protagonist to this place where angelic powers won't work for him. The moment he walks inside, the demons rain down arrows at him. All those arrows are stuck in his body, yet our guy keeps walking forward and tells Devil House to run on his legs, not his mouth if he wants to live. Devil House then orders all the demons to charge at once, but little do they know, this gorilla is the ultimate warrior of humans, a being that grows stronger with every battle, a warrior capable of taking down an entire army, a true barbarian showing his barbaric strength. The demon count is now down to 1. It's finally time for the 1v1 he waited so long for. Devil House can't believe it. A single human took down all the demons and has the last one disarmed and at his mercy. His revenge is finally about to end. He can finally return to Germania now and rebuild his world that this Devilho destroyed. He might even join Luffy to find One Piece, or help Thorfinn in finding Vinland, or maybe search for Victoria's Secret. Devil House is too prideful to die by a human's hand, so he tries to off himself. Barbarian, with abs, swings his sword to race Devil House into claiming that worthless, ugly life. However, Unk miscalculated the situation, and Devil House casts an ancient spell called Stone Petrification. Barbarian stoned. Maybe I didn't use the word stoned right. He succeeds as Unk slowly turns into a stone while watching his nemesis walk away. The next moment, Mr. Barbarian opens his eyes to this NPC admiring the craftsmanship of whoever stoned our guy. Maybe I didn't use the word stoned right again. This guy got too close to the statue, and as a result, our guy's stoning vision is turning back to normal. The curse is lifted, so the only appropriate response for the person who unintentionally caused it is to grab his skill and slam him into the wall. Just like the golden barbaric ages, other people start panicking and screaming. Yeah, noise pollution would definitely calm down the guy who has bigger abs than your body. Now that he can finally move, he's definitely going to get his revenge. He opens the status window only to find out that the remaining number of demons has gone up to 1 short of 1,000,000. Devil House be housing so many ladies while our guy was stoned. Also, this hunter thingy seems strange. What's with 1.3 million hunters? He's again the only barbarian alive. He's also confused by this uproar. He only threw a single person away and nearly reincarnated him in some isekai slop. No big deal in that, right? Just then, this guy named Kim Jin-suk shows Unk his ID and calls him out for causing a disturbance in his area. He demands an ID from a guy who would rather slap him with his D. Unk grabs him by his neck and practices some bicep curls while making a statement that he's not someone who can be controlled by anyone. Just then, this beautiful lady rushes to the scene and stops Unk. She calls him by his name, Wolfgang the Grape. Grape because he will sacrifice his life for Germania. Unk approaches the lady, who's half the size of him, and asks how she knows his name. The beautiful lady introduces herself as Yeren Kang, who works at the Seoul branch of the Korean Hunter Agency. She asks if Unk would accompany her somewhere else so they can talk in detail, but before he could refuse, the lady drops her ultimate card. She'll provide him food and a place to rest. Imagine being offered free food and a free place in this economy. Of course, Unk agrees. Using the warp gate, they arrive close to the place she mentioned. Wolfgang is surprised at how much the world has changed. Surprised internally, can't abandon the nonchalant aura. For one, it has turned blue from yellow. She's taking him to the Hunters Association and then explains that hunters are fighters trained to deal with the otherworldly monsters and demons. For more details, she offers to show him solo leveling. That will help with aura farming as well. The association is a private organization that manages these hunters. Demons of A rank or greater fall under the government's responsibility, whereas hunters deal with the lower ones. The association plays a role in discovering and training new hunters. She adds that Unc Wolfie was also a part of the discovery project because they figured out that he was not a statue but a stone warrior. I mean a warrior cursed to turn into a stone. They don't have enough S-rankers right now to deal with the constantly rising number of demons crossing through the portals. Their only option was to enroll demons in a family planning course to reduce the growing number. However, when Yeren found out the truth about the stone warrior with abs, she had a thought she doesn't want to reveal yet. The goal of finding Victoria's secret changes to finding Yeren's secret. Back in her office, she treats Wolfgang to a pizza. Wolfie carefully analyzes the pizza, and one bite tells him why Joe doesn't want to share his food. This is so good. Yeren reveals that they brought many healers to do something about Wolfgang being hard, but nothing worked. Being hard as in being a stone figure. Wolfie understands that the healers would have been good, but what's actually good is this pizza. He then asks about this black bubbly fluid. Yeren opens the bottle and hands it to him with the fizz intact. Un tries to one-shot the entire bottle, only to send the decarbonated Coke to Yeren's face. He likes it as well. Wait till he tries other drinks like echidna's tea. Yeren wipes herself and asks if it's okay to ask a few questions while he's destroying the pizza like late Mrs. Wolfgang. He agrees. Wolfie must have noticed the change in this era compared to his behind-the-bushes dating era. She tells him that it's 21st century and wants to ask what AD he belonged to. Wolfgang doesn't know about that, but he remembers that it was said to be 1,000 years since Rome was founded. Yeren jumps with joy like a gambler finally winning $20 after losing his house. Her guess was correct. Wolfgang is from the Middle Ages. Talking to someone from the Middle Ages as an archaeologist is a big deal for her. The only nearly extinct species/fossil fuels she interacted with before were the people born before 2000. Wolfgang can't relate and he doesn't want to. He just wants more pizza. Since she talked about demon occurrences, Wolfgang asks if she knows about the son of a gun named Devil House, the demon who turned him into a stone. Yeren hasn't heard this name before. She even looks up the Hunter Gallery app but finds nothing. With tears in his eyes, Pookie Wolfie says that he's going to get rid of him and head back to Germania. Yeren reminds him of the cruel reality that Germania has already fallen. 1,000 years have passed since his time. That land is currently ruled by a Viking named Holland. Before you guys say anything, the authenticity of the author's geographical or historical knowledge has zero effect on the story. Maybe he's wrong, maybe he's right, but one thing is certain, you are single. He slams the wall in frustration at hearing that everything about his time is a thing of history now. He still intends to get his family back. Yeren tells him that his family must have already turned into minerals or oil and been taken into custody by the Freedom Country. He wants to believe that it's still possible because that's the pact he made. For now, he asks Yeren to find Devil House for him. He noticed earlier that Yeren hoped to achieve some kind of mission with the help of Wolfgang. That's why she tried so hard to lift the curse. He made a deal with her. If she does everything to find Devil House, he'll act in accordance with her purpose. Firstly, Yeren wants him to become a legal person because he doesn't have a passport for any country. The best way is to obtain a hunter license, which should be easy for him given how hard her abs appear to be. A couple of hours in Big 26 and Unc is already noticing how doomed this era is. However, Yeren tries to show the bright side, like getting residence and other subsidies once he makes it big. He won't have to pay for it because those small businesses and corporate slaves are working hard enough to pay taxes for his relief. He'll bag 10 million if he clears the entrance exam. She can convert this currency into his era's currency, but that might get her cancelled because they are also people now. If he's lucky, he might form a pact with constellations. Sorry, constellations, the guardian deities of the stars. They support the hunters with whom a pact is formed and watch over them. Wolfgang knows about angels but not constellations, which is obvious since they only appeared 15 years ago, still younger than millennials. They arrive at the venue that is packed like an Asian kid's trophy cabinet because today the Hunter Academy students who are legally of age to take the test are here. She points to the wall that looks like it's here to take Shadow Garden to the sanctuary, saying that it's called the Wall of Testing, imbued with the power of Adidas 1. This Leonidas 1 is the constellation of Spear and Shield. Scoring over 500 points will get a passing grade. Yeren then fills out the form for our protagonist, whose full name is Wolfgang de Graaf, a name truly befitting the gorilla with abs he is. Since he doesn't have a passport, he needs a guarantor. While Yeren shows her hunter's license, Wolfgang asks about that long pointy stick that the exhibitionist man is holding. Yeren reveals that it's the Spear of Leonidas, which means the exam is about to begin. When that spear is thrust into the wall without lubrication, Leonidas's power will dwell within the wall of testing. The man, barely covering his both heads, slams the spear in, and Leonidas's power appears in a high-budget animation way. Meanwhile, Unc doesn't understand why everyone is making a big fuss about it. The host then asks everyone to quiet down. Just then, an intense aura is discovered, not by Wolfgang, but by the constellation. A system window pops up saying that Leonidas has discovered an interesting individual, and it urges him to step forward. This is new for the crowd. A constellation is actually requesting someone to come forth. The first contestant is Ko Yuna from Chunggrong. a popular baddie from a popular family led by Hunter Ko Sung-young, the master of sportsmanship. Her strong aura confuses people to wonder if she has already formed a contract with a constellation. The constellation's yearning is most probably for her, so the crowd feels lucky to actually witness a contract being formed. Not just a provisional contract, but the real deal. Yuna slams the wall like it's her younger brother. A score of 1205 appears, which is on par with some active duty hunters, a score rare to see in a promotion test. Yuna is happy with this score, but she's alone in this satisfaction because the constellation is now shouting to quickly send the next participant, while urging the special one to come forth. It isn't shouting literally, but you can hear the shout from its capital letters. Yuna is surprised, but the real shock comes when the constellation actually terminates the contract with Ko-Yuna after this disappointing performance. Next up is this Jack dude who pushes Yuna away, saying that the constellation is obviously not yearning for her since he's also here. She should have been grateful to bag a provisional contract, which she just now lost to her greed. This guy is Kim Jin-woo, who has a provisional contract with the descendant of the Barbarians. He charges his punch to max and slams the wall as if it's his wife, and he's a husband from the 1950s. Everyone is shocked at the level of power he holds. They can't believe that he's just a student. He gets a massive score of 2039. It's the first time somebody scored over 2000 in a promotion test. He is already on par with active duty C-ranked hunters. He's strong, but he's not the one Constellation asked for. It's angry now. Jinwoo is confused. He asks his Constellation why Leonidas isn't satisfied when he confidently claimed that this would be enough. He gets a cold reply that he should mind his tone while talking to a hero who has slain thousands of demons. Just then, Wolfgang de Kruff walks up to the stage and tells Jinwoo to buzz off to some solo leveling Shi because he's not the main character here. Jinwoo tries to send Unk back, telling him to wait for his turn, but Wolfgang clarifies that Jinwoo's turn is already over. He should leave before Wolfie breaks the promise he made to Yeren. Jinwoo grabs his arm, giving Wolfgang the perfect opportunity to separate all of Jinwoo's body parts so his family can enjoy puzzles while mourning. However, he looks at Yeren, who asks him to calm down, so like a mature man, he complies. Wolf asks him about the constellation Jinwoo is in pact with. However, he didn't refer to the constellation like these bootlickers. This triggers Jinwoo to say that he should apologize for disrespecting the constellation. He may have abs, but this is unforgivable. He should fear angering a constellation. Wolfie says that he shall hear it directly from this constipation, whatever he's talking about. Wolfgang introduces himself, saying that if he truly is a descendant of barbarians, he should know his name. Right away, the constellation appears and bows down to Wolfgang, referring to him as the hero of barbarians. He clarifies that as someone who borrows the power of barbarians, he holds no right to get angry at Wolfgang. It's this ignorant, jacked fool who failed to recognize the hero. Upon Constellation's request, Wolfgang forgives him but asks for appropriate consequences for misusing the power bestowed upon him. Constellation had the same thought, so he casts Jinwoo away and terminates the contract with him. Not just him, but also Kim Jinwoo's family. Yeren is shocked. Just how big is this guy, both physically and in status? And maybe down there as well. Wolfgang then approaches Leonidas, saying that he's got to get this license, so brace himself. Leonidas claims to be deeply moved by the appearance of a hero and raises the spirits. Wolfie, in response, shows off his strength, and the aura alone has left everyone shocked. A power of that scale has never been seen before. Now he's the one testing the constellation. How the turntables. He's waiting for the constellation to raise the white flag and is yet to go all out. Yeren is getting worried because Wolfie is about to send everyone flying with just the display of his power. She wants someone to stop him before he's labeled as a calamity. Just then, the aura disappears, and while everyone is still out of their senses at what they just witnessed, Wolfie grabs Yeren and walks out, saying that the test has lost its meaning. He refuses to explain any further. Turns out, Leonidas' holy artifact is shattered to pieces. While he's still confused about what to do about it, the gate shatters as well. At the Hunter Association's office, Wolfie is getting drunk on coke while Yeren watches the news of the artifact being destroyed. Wolfie proudly claims that the constellation put up a good fight. It was too weak for him. Just then, their ticket is called, so the three of them, including Yeren, Wolfie, and Wolfie's bad aura, walk up to the counter. Seems like Mr. Four Eyes' corporate slave has been waiting for them. Before issuing the license, they need to settle the matter of the damaged artifact. It's not a big deal though, because mishaps like this happen almost never, so the fine is just 100 million won. If Wolfie can't pay it, the responsibility goes to the guarantor. Yeren is shocked, but the guy in a tie says that they are lucky to only pay for the damage to the wall. The artifact wasn't supposed to be breakable, so they don't even know what to charge for it. A while later, Yeren hands Wolfie his first ever Hunter license and his first ever debt account. 10 million for passing the test has been deducted, so they are only down to 90 million now. Unk doesn't even know if it's a big amount or pocket change. It's both, depending on whether you were on the files or not. Yeren wasn't, so she can't pay it herself. Hunters do make a lot, but only the high-ranked combat ones. Others barely make ends meet and leave their family only for his son to become friends with an assassin, fight off a PDF clown, and ultimately defeat the Ant King to finally meet his dad. Yeren is an archaeological hunter, so she has to rely on sponsorships to barely survive. It's a miracle how she hasn't registered herself on OF by now. Even if Wolfie is a combat type, he's still only F rank, so it's impossible for him to make 100 million. Yeah, everyone saw him destroy the indestructible artifact and decided he deserves the F rank. F for Fa. Why even pass him at this point? This is what happens when you focus way too much on your character's abs rather than the story. At least he's not like that rich tycoon guy with the most absurd money system. Anyways, Unk states that he can smash as many monsters as needed and clear off this worry from Yaren's mind in no time. He asks her to show him to a dungeon right away. However, Yaren explains that they need an agency for that. A middleman who doesn't do the dangerous deeds and walks off with the most money. That's what an agency is. They'll reserve rights to the dungeon and handle the paperwork. They take up to a 20% cut, or sometimes even 30%. No foreigners, no graduation, and bad credit scores are some of the reasons why Unk was rejected from a guild. Turns out, hard abs or a shiny bald head aren't requirements of any agency. They think that maybe, just maybe, Unk's appearance has something to do with all the rejections. Beard is off limits because it's the second sign of manhood. The first is the D also walking in animal hides is definitely going to scare them. Unk clarifies that this hide belongs to the wolf tribe, but Yaren reminds him that it doesn't matter now. They can't fix his credit score, but they can work on his appearance. While Yaren is trying to destroy the peak male form, a suited guy walks up to them and presents the opportunity to join his firm named Mua. Of course, an agency named Mua or Tua or whatever can never be good. Turns out, Mua is famous for ripping off hunters. He claims to have noticed them getting rejected from everywhere else, and since their signing policies are a bit relaxed right now, they should partner up. He asks for a 40% cut in exchange for a 3-year contract with at least 2 dungeon raids every week. His offer is 20 million. Yaren isn't interested in this slavery contract, so she gets up to leave, but Wolfie puts forth a new offer. He wants a signing bonus of 100 million. The agent with a dog collar for a tie is clever. He agrees to give a 100 million signing bonus if Wolfie signs a 10-year contract with a 50-50 split. The scene shifts to the bus stand where Unk is getting an earful from Yaren for signing that disgusting contract on the spot. She wonders if Wolfgang is taking the contract lightly, but he assures her that he has seen many civilizations ruined by a poorly made contract, so he understands its importance. She asks why he signed it then, so Wolfgang reveals that he fights for those who aid him. That's the code he always lived by. Right now, his sole intention is to find Devil House. He has a pact of vengeance with the Archangel Seraphim to defeat the demons. In return, he'll get his family and tribe back. Yaren apologizes for running her mouth without knowing that Wolfgang is carrying such a heavy past. However, she tells him that he's the first and only person from the ancient era that she met. She believes that he might be her first breakthrough, but she's worried for him. She thinks that it's her responsibility to help him adapt to this era. The agent from the agency interrupts their convo, saying that the housing arrangements are ready. Back in her room, Yaren gets a message from Jung-sua about the news regarding the artifact getting destroyed earlier today. Chae Jung-hyun asks if the one who broke it is who she thinks he is. Yaren states that it is that stone warrior she told them about. They think that it's a monumental achievement, but the only achievement they made so far is a 100 million debt. Her friends think that she should hand over the guy to the government, but she's never going to do that. Even now, she's worried if he's adjusting to his room well or not. She should have bought him some cola before parting ways. As the agent shows Wolfie his room, Unk asks him when he can raid a dungeon. Mr. Agent states that any time from Monday to Friday, as long as he does it twice. Wolfgang asks if it's okay for him to go all 5 days. Free labor is exactly what corporations yearn for, so there's no problem at all. He asks him to meet him in the parking lot at the designated time once he alerts him about the departure time on the phone he gave him. The agent then leaves, and Wolfgang looks around the dark room that looks like a dwarf's cave. The first thing he needs to do is light up a torch, but since there's no fire around, he decides to use the rectangular light thingy called a phone. He picks up his keycard thinking that it's a phone, wondering why it's smaller than the one Yaren had. This era is full of unnecessary complications. He realizes that getting used to this era isn't going to be easy. The next morning, Wolfgang meets with whoever this Unk is at the parking lot to head to the dungeon. Unk is hating on Wolfgang's banger outfit, but deep down, he's just jealous of not having abs like him. Wolfgang realizes that sometimes you gotta reply with your hands, and this is the perfect moment for that. However, he promised Yaren that he wouldn't attack any human. Wolfgang wasn't sure why she was making him promise that, but this Unk in front of him makes him realize Yaren's thought process immediately. This era is different from the one Wolfgang belonged to. The hunters are the reason why humans can survive right now. Also, the information gathering capabilities right now are more developed than in any other era. This era serves severe judgments on humans attacking other humans unless you have enough money to buy the judgment. Anyways, Wolfgang would make it harder for him to find Devil House if he attacked another human. Remembering all that, he stays quiet, only for this rude, divorced, don't walk on my grass male Karen to state that they aren't in a movie set, so he should change to a hazmat suit that is more appropriate for a slime dungeon. He also adds that this weapon won't be necessary today, so Wolfgang is forced to leave it behind. He then tells Wolfgang to take a shower and change clothes. A lion doesn't concern itself with charges of indecent public exposure, so Wolfgang drops down his minimalistic outfit and reveals the weapon that even this rude Unk can't make him leave behind. Wolfgang then asks Unk to show him the directions to the stream where he shall take a bath. The scene shifts to rude Unk driving this other dude and Wolfgang in his truck to the dungeon. Wolfgang isn't in front because a lion can't fit into a Toyota. Unk tells this yawning guy to stop complaining about the distance and consider himself lucky to get a chance to enter a B-rank dungeon, despite only being F-rank. Yeah, he ain't buying this bullshit. He knows that it's only B-rank in name. After all, they will only be collecting slime corpses. He's only joining because he needs to save money for the entrance fee of the next promotion exam. Uncle doesn't think this guy is skilled enough to pass it. Anyways, this is still a great opportunity to earn without any risk. However, he thinks that their employers know that very well. That's why he keeps reducing their payment. Unk has had enough of this guy's complaints, so he tells him to shut his mouth for the rest of their journey. Unk's name is Foreman, by the way, who finally reaches the destination, where that agent is also present. The agent's name is Kim Junwan, who's here because it's Wolfgang's first assignment. Right now, the foreman has no feedback about Wolfie because they haven't entered the dungeon yet. Wolfgang greets Junwan in his messed-up gardener outfit as if he were planting some seeds in Foreman's wife, and he came back an hour early, hence the messed-up outfit. Wolfgang explains that Foreman made him change, but it's alright since it doesn't interfere with his movements. Agent turns to Foreman, asking why he isn't wearing a hazmat suit since he's entering a slime dungeon. Foreman says that they don't have suits for Vikings. This was the only thing that could barely fit him. He can at least wear a gas mask, and they just have to make sure he doesn't touch or make any physical contact with slime fragments. Foreman then tells the F-rankers to hurry up and head inside the dungeon, so he can quickly wrap it up and head to the next site. He tells Junwan to find a suit for Wolfgang while they clear the first floor. Junwan is worried because a gas mask alone isn't enough for safety. However, the administrator confirms that the first floor only has slimes. The second floor is where things start to get serious. Junwan runs off to find a suit for Wolfgang, while asking him not to enter the second floor before he's back. Foreman explains to the F-rankers that they only need to watch out for toxic gases on the first floor. Wolfgang asks if there are plenty of corpses inside and how many containers they have. Inside the dungeon, this other guy asks Wolfgang if he's alright with carrying those heavy containers by himself. Empty ones weigh 10 kilograms, and once filled they are 30 kilograms each. For my freedom fellows, 30 kgs is like 159 Big Macs. Wolfgang isn't bothered about the weight. His only regret is their bulky shape limiting the number of containers possible to carry. The guy asks Wolfie if he knows about these slimes. Everyone knows about these weak-eye creatures. There's nothing to worry about slimes unless they have a surname called Tempest. Bro is trying to educate Wolfgang since it's his first time in a dungeon. They finally come across this corpse. A living slime is all squishy, but the slimes harden up. He also warns Wolfgang not to touch it with his bare hands, but Aura Farmer Gorilla says that the poison seems potent. He says that while holding one in his hand, this dude knocks it away because it would melt Wolfgang's hand. To his surprise, Wolfgang is unharmed. Unharmed and now squishing another slime stuck on the wall. This isn't enough to melt his hard skin. Also, he thinks the gas mask is useless and makes him look chopped, so he takes it off as well. As expected, the Viking can breathe normally. Wolfgang then asks him to speed up since he wants to earn lots of money. The guy is surprised that Wolfie caught that with all the wind. Just how good is this guy's hearing? After a while, this bro is confused as they haven't filled a single container yet. Normally, they fill 2 containers after walking this much. At this rate, they might lose money on this one. Wolfgang suggests going down a floor, saying that he'll fill every one of these containers for him. The boy with just 1 container on his bag resists, saying that the second floor is too dangerous for 2 F-rankers. It's more dangerous for Wolfie since he doesn't have a suit. However, Wolfgang insists that they are going to the second floor. There's also this sound coming from below that is making him curious. He's sensing the presence of a demon down there. Yaren is getting worried because Wolfgang's number is powered off. She passes through this guy, telling the person on the call that even the association doesn't have Godzilla-sized hazmat suits. It will take a week to prepare new ones, so they will have to stop at the first floor today. Turns out, this guy is Agent Jinwan. He hangs up the call to head back to the slime dungeon, but he's ambushed by this baddie. Yaren asks if Wolfie is also at that slime dungeon. First, she scolds him for not issuing Wolfgang his phone, but the manager claims that he gave him both the phone and debit card. He has no idea why he isn't responding to her calls. She then orders the poor manager to take her to the dungeon. In the dungeon, Wolfgang is proudly ignoring all warnings and throwing live slimes into the jar. They have already filled all the jars. This should be enough to pay for the guy's promotion exam. He suggests heading back, but he turns around only to find Wolfie already down to the 3rd floor. Not only is the B3 dangerous, but it's also restricted by the Holy Star Guild. Of course, a lion doesn't concern itself with lame restrictions. This dude tries to run after Wolfie to stop him from going any further. However, they are now standing in front of the Slime King in a container. All the slimes on the 1st and 2nd floors were created here. The mana injector is keeping the barrier active, and slimes keep popping out of those small pipes and climb up towards the upper floors where there's light. But bro figures out the passive income of Holy Star Guild. Just then, the flow of air changes, and Wolfgang points at the giant pipe on top of that container. It drops the garbage onto the Slime King to feed it, so it keeps making more slimes, using trash to generate income. If only your father's trash could do so, but he's busy lusting over a barbarian's abs. A system window pops up telling Wolfgang that a new language has been detected. At this point, Bro is referring to Wolfgang as Master. He points out that the slimes that were leaving are coming back now. Not only did they come back, but they also covered Wolfgang in slime. They wrap our guy in themselves to communicate with him. They ask him to rid them of this misery. Wolfgang agrees to do so if they answer his question. He asks about Devil House, but they have no idea about him. The slime then unwraps Wolfgang, but melts most of his gardener's suit. Meanwhile, this bro is making sure Wolfgang isn't harmed. Wolfgang tells him the Slime King's wish. The guy takes a realistic approach, saying that 2 F-rankers can't do anything about this B-rank dungeon. Wolfie doesn't care about it. He's only interested in knowing what's going to happen if he smashes the container. There are lots of reasons why he shouldn't do it. Even if they put their F ranks aside, this is private property belonging to the Holy Star Guild. While Bro is still trying to convince Wolfgang, he realizes that a lion doesn't concern itself with breaking in and destroying the property of someone else. The fragile container is already cracked. The only way to stop Wolfgang is by shielding the container with his body, but Wolfie asks him to move because he has a promise to keep. Also, it's already too late to be having this discussion. Dude looks behind and notices that the container is actually about to collapse. All the slimes are gathering around the container, so Wolfgang pushes the dude away, saying that he'll handle it. Dude doesn't want to break the bro code, but unfortunately, Wolfie doesn't take no for an answer, so he starts running away, hoping that Wolfgang will be right behind him, but Uncle tells him to spare the pointless worry. Now then, Wolfie stands his ground as the container breaks. Meanwhile, Junhwan and Yeren arrive outside the dungeon and ask the manager about the well-being of the 2 F-rankers. The manager says that he doesn't know anything except that they should have been back by now. Just then, the ground shakes intensely like your bed whenever you're home alone. Men don't think about it, saying that it must be an earthquake. However, Yeren thinks that it was something else. The earthquake quickly loses momentum, so the manager walks away to report this to the higher-ups so they can send someone to check the dungeon and help F-rankers if they are in danger. Yeren says that she would accompany Junhwan into the dungeon if there's a spare gas mask. Inside the dungeon, the Slime King asks Wolfgang why he isn't keeping his promise, but Wolfie states that he didn't do the deed in one hit, so the Slime King can at least see the outside world for once. The final moments should at least be nice, right? The dungeon is about to collapse, so he grabs Wolfgang by his waist so he can take him outside. Mr. Slime King low-key just wanted to touch those rock-hard abs before he dies. Anyways, Wolfgang starts charging towards the exit while pulling the Slime King. That dude still isn't out of the dungeon and is terrified at seeing the Slime King chasing him. He throws away the containers to run away. He finally gets close to the exit, but before he crosses the finish line, the monster catches up to him. Not the slimes, but this other bald monster with abs. He grabs the dude and throws him outside the dungeon. Following him, Wolfgang and the Slime King also make their way out of the dungeon. The people outside, including Yeren, have no idea what to think of this situation. Dude asks Wolfie why he didn't slime the king yet, so Wolfgang explains that someone locked up for so long deserves to see sunlight before going to the other side. He then asks the dude to hold up his hand and hand over the Slime King's core. The king will cease to exist when this core is destroyed, and a portion of his power will be transferred to whoever destroys it. Wolfgang doesn't need this power, so he's giving it to this dude who hasn't even shared his name yet as a token of gratitude. He may not be a Lannister, but he's a barbarian who always pays back his debts. The Slime King thanks Wolfie for letting him see this beautiful scenery before dying. Wolfie then calls out Yeren and jumps over to her like a good boy so mommy can take him home after this long day at school. Meanwhile, the manager is asking for transport trucks, as many as possible. At least 50, he says. Yeren asks if she can take Wolfgang from here. The managers are going to be here for a while now, so they tell her that she can. For some reason, Wolfie seems to be in a hurry, so Yeren asks if he was the one behind whatever incident happened. A lion doesn't concern itself with truth, so he straight up lies. The last 2 days were enough to tell Yeren that this baldy is straight up lying. Anyways, they still need to hurry because someone is waiting for Wolfie. Wolfgang wonders if Yeren has already found Devil's house and is taking him there. It's dark and Jinwan is still outside the dungeon. Foreman asks why he isn't leaving with them, especially since he doesn't even have a ride. He replies that he can't leave, not before he clears everything from here. The settlement can't be done on time. They both know that, but they also understand corporate slavery, so there's nothing that can be done. Meanwhile, the bald manager is talking with someone on the phone saying that 150 tons, not kgs, tons of slime is harvested. That's like over 100 million Big Macs. The baddie asks Kang Junmo if he were in her place, would he be wiring 1.4 billion won like it's nothing. This baddie is the team leader named Kang Mian, who can't believe that 2 F-rankers harvested all that. She scolds her brother for not making a scene at the dungeon or at least investigating what went wrong. She tells him to head inside and see what happened. Junmo isn't happy with how her sister treats him. We can understand, Kang Junmo. We can understand. Imagine working overtime and your boss yells at you and tells you to go inside the dungeon. Junmo tells Jinwon that he will have to wait a bit more until they head back to their comfy beds. Meanwhile, Wolfie comes across this wonderful creation called a shower. Water pouring from inside the house is a crazy invention. He wonders what in the equals to MC square is this. He asks Yeren about the principle working behind this, but Yeren just wants Unk to shut up and quickly come out after taking a bath. They don't have the time to learn fluid mechanics when someone is waiting for them. That person isn't Devil House, but that doesn't mean they aren't important. Also, she brought him the biggest clothes she could find, clothes belonging to the fridge-shaped friends of hot girls. Even these clothes are too small for him. The author can draw bigger clothes, but why hide those abs? The person they are about to meet is the leader of archaeological hunters. Since they are already late, Wolfie has to make do with these clothes. He doesn't care at all. What he cares about is the dinner. They finally enter the doctor leader's office, who goes by the name Dr. Choi Myung-jun. He's currently active as a B-rank hunter and is famous for excavating ancient relics. Being the considerate and polite guy Wolfie is, he asks Choi where his tribe of archaeologists is located. Yeren explains that it's not a tribe, but a study for insomnia patients to help them sleep. It's the study of history and relics like old buildings or old tools and weapons or ancient civilizations like millennials. Wolfie is intrigued by hearing this, but what could be more intriguing in this situation is eating dinner. Mama Yeren orders some fried chicken for ya boy W Gang. Wolfgang loves it so much that he feels like an NBA player. He then asks Doc what the agenda of this meeting is. Doc has some questions that Wolfgang agrees to answer. The first one is how Wolfie understands Korean and is speaking as if he's a native. Wolfie then tells him about the Duolingo Max he received from the angels. He can speak all languages, whether it's Korean, English, or even Glaswegian English. Dr. Chui doesn't know about angels, so he asks if Wolfie is referring to constipation. Yeren reminds him what constellations are, so Wolfgang clarifies that he's not talking about those weak creatures. Angels are strong enough to have the power to deal with demons, and Wolfie made a pact with them. Doctor goes through the entire flashback episode and summarizes what we already know, but let's refresh it. Angels and demons were at war when barbarian tribes participated upon the request of angels. Unfortunately, the entire tribe except for Wolfgang was wiped out. To take revenge, he went alone and eliminated all but one. However, that tricky son of a horrible person stoned Wolfie and worked overtime to raise the number back to 1 million. Yeren holds Wolfgang's hand to calm him down, saying that he'll definitely succeed one day. Doc apologizes for bringing up this sad memory. However, he still has another favor to ask. Since Wolfgang's initial discovery was as a relic, Doc needs to confirm its authenticity. Doc brings out this statue made by the constellation he's contracted with, named Martial Artist of the Rough Buddha, one of the key figures who led the Goryeo dynasty monks to victory in the Mongol invasions. The constellation can confirm the authenticity. Wolfgang would have refused, but since Yeren is asking as well because her achievements depend on proving the authenticity, he agrees. The doctor will definitely be useful in finding Devil House. With his consent, Doc immediately summons the Bald Legend. The constellation recognizes the hero of the barbarians right away, saying that he brought an end to the chaotic era. The constellation bows down and pays respect to the one who ended that great war. Wolfgang doesn't need this thanks because he considers it half a victory. He wouldn't stop until every last demon is exterminated. Doc then runs out of mana, so the constellation disappears. Still, the mission is accomplished as the authenticity is confirmed. Meanwhile, Junmo is in the B3 of the dungeon and finds out that their passive income is destroyed. It's as if everything was going well for business until some orange fish appeared, and now everyone is bound to suffer. Junmo informs his sister of everything. She thinks that this is just one of those sibling pranks, but Junmo is serious. Sis is bamboozled. Not even an A ranker like her could break that container. MU agency doesn't have any secret S rankers that they could have deployed without them knowing. Junmo confirms that both the hunters who entered were F rankers. One of them was a total noob. Apart from his late wife, he hasn't entered any other dungeon. He tells Miyun that the F ranker only got the license yesterday. Miyun's instincts tell her that this newbie sounds fishy, so she orders Junmo to stalk that guy and find as much info as possible. Junwo asks about her plans, so she reveals the idea to sue MU agency for the damage and reveal that person's identity to secure evidence. Junmo couldn't care less about that. He wants to know when she's sending that 1.4 billion because Junwon has been waiting for hours. Batty yells at him and hangs up. Wish she could yell at me and hang up. Wolfgang is at the shopping mall with his mommy so they can buy some new clothes since he outgrew the old ones. While they wait for the store guy to bring gorilla shoes, Wolfgang very politely asks Yeren how this phone in his hand works. Yeren finally understands why she couldn't get through because this baldy with additional abs for brain thinks that this debit card is actually a phone. She asks if he got something else as well. Wolfgang tells her that he received a card thingy as well, but that was bigger than this phone thingy, so he left it in the room. Yeren explains to him that the card is not a card but a phone, and the phone is not a phone but a card and you are unemployed. How was poor gigantic bro supposed to know this when no one told him? Yeren smiles at this cute innocence of the man who has ended more lives than she has seen in her lifetime. She promises to teach him how to use a phone after they are done shopping. The shoe guy brings the largest shoe that they custom made for a premium dinosaur client. While Wolfgang tries it on, this guy with a GTA outfit walks by them, holding a picture of Wolfgang. Next up is choosing an outfit. Yeren tries to convert our Barbarian into Pookie Blinder, but she doesn't want all the grandmas to leave their old wheelchair potatoes at this age for Wolfgang, so she takes off the hat. The rest stays on as it looks classy, and there's nothing more of his size available. She would like it if Wolfie dressed like this from now on. Like a good boy, Wolfie agrees to whatever the mommy wants. Yeren highlights that this is the normal way of dressing nowadays, but Wolfie doesn't understand what's with so many layers when just a leaf can cover the important details and a man is good to go. Even a quarter of a leaf would be enough for some nowadays. Yeren then heads to the restroom while this Yakuza from Temu and this guy who thinks he looks like Mr. Oro with a mask and hoodie decide to use this opportunity to distract Wolfgang and take him out. Meanwhile, Wolfgang is wondering what's with two doors when, in his time, there was only one door for the ladies. Men can go wherever they want. The masked guy tries to grab those shopping bags to distract Wolfgang from the other guy, but Broski fails step 1 and loses all the aura that he thought the mask gave him. Uncle Yakuza is next now, but Wolfgang grabs him by his head. In less than 2 seconds, the dumb duo realizes that they shouldn't have messed with a guy whose hands alone are bigger than their heads. However, the Yakuza guy didn't buy new glasses and tied this tie to yield this easily. He tried to play hard to get, only to get almost crushed. He felt scammed to be told that the hunter would be F-ranked. Bro, you had his picture, you could have seen what kind of F would be awaiting you. Wolfgang may be Pookie Blinder for Yeren, but he'll show these guys why Thomas Shelby shouldn't be messed with. He asks if they were sent by the Songshin Guild. Meanwhile, Yeren inside is thinking about how Wolfie is surprisingly high maintenance. If only he could get used to this world quickly. She's sure that he would be wondering what the deal is with these public restrooms. Even if she wants to, she can't walk in with him in the men's one to show him around. Wolfie lets go of the Temuza and tells him to warn their chief that if something like this happens again, Wolfgang will wipe out their tribe. Yeren is back, so they head off to eat something before going back to her office, where she will teach him how to use a phone. Wolfgang asks what they are eating today. Yeren asks him what he wants to eat. Anything he wants will be granted because they will be paying for it with Dr. Choi's card. Somewhere in a cafe, this sharp-suited guy tells Jinwan that Songshin Guild slapped them with a 6 billion lawsuit for damages to their guild. Something about breaching the slime dungeon barrier and taking out the slime king. Jinwan knows about the breach thingy, but suing them seems crazy since the raid was a B rank and they only sent 2 F-ranked hunters. Mr. Sharp-suited guy says that Songshin is claiming that the slime corpse belongs to the king, so instead of paying the 1.4 billion they owe them, they are trying to maximize the profit. Before proceeding with the case, this guy, who looks like a billionaire's son, asks Jinwan if he's 100% sure that both the hunters were F-rankers. Jinwan assures him that they were both F-rankers and he shouldn't doubt him so much. Jinwan used to be a hunter as well, so he knows how these games are played. Gray Suit Guy then brought out the evidence tape that the Songshin Guild turned in to back their claim. The video is from earlier today when Wolfgang swept the floor with that masked guy and Temuza guy. The masked guy is Yoon Ho-sung, an E-ranker, and Temuza is apparently a D-ranker named Jiang Minjae. Despite landing a surprise attack, they were the ones getting obliterated. A guy like that can't be an F-ranker. They're even asking who hired MU agency and filing a complaint against whoever did so. Songshin thinks MUA pulled a fast one by disguising a higher-ranked hunter as an F-ranker. 1. They haven't paid them anything yet. 2. This sharp-suited guy is doubting Junwan again, so he gets up to head over to Songshin and give them a piece of his mind. Actually, the guy only wants to make sure that Junwan's hands are clean. It's like they will be able to work with Songshin again after this, so they might as well sue them back to get that 1.4 billion that they rightfully deserve. Junwan requests that the manager squeeze that money out of them. He then gets up to go sign some rookie hunter in Cheongdam. Even while sitting in the cab, Junwan is super angry at these big guns who scam people like him. If things keep up like this, he would never be able to afford his own ride. Junwan is watching the video closely, and he notices something really strange. The D-rank Temuza was trying to free himself with the power of a constellation, yet Wolfie didn't even flinch. A guy not even bound by the constellations. This has never happened before. An idea popped up in his mind, an idea to test Wolfie to see if he's the real deal or not. A couple of days have passed, and Wolfie is slaying in his classy outfit, while always carrying both long swords. He finally understands the concept of traffic lights and thinks that the king of this tribe is too oppressive to control when people walk and when they don't. Well, Wolfie, there's still this uncontrollable group called bikers. How hard is it to stay in your own frigid lanes? Wolfie remembers the directions he was given by Foreman. Following those, he arrives at the place where Yeren is waiting for him. After confirming that he brought everything she asked for, the two of them head inside the archaeology department to meet Dr. Chu. Inside the office, the doctor apologizes for calling him all the way here and then leads them into the storeroom. Also, Doc is having a really hard time keeping his hands off Wolfie's big dignified sword. Wolfie asks Yeren what's wrong with this guy, so she explains that an archaeologist is bound to get excited at seeing an ancient relic and an ancient person. As long as Doc doesn't get too excited, Wolfie is okay. He then hands over Fenrir's wolf pelt that he was wearing earlier in this bag to Doc. Inside the storage room, Doc introduces Chui Junghyun and Kang Jiho to Wolfie. Jiho is amazed at seeing how big this X statue looks in person. Being an A-ranked archaeologist, she also gets excited to see an ancient person. I'm sure Wolfie wouldn't mind her getting too excited. The guy behind her is Yoonhyun, her lucky assistant. No wonder the bro looks so happy with his job. Men will be men. Two baddies in the room, but Junghyun is more invested in this huge sword Wolfgang is carrying. The sword that's passed down through generations to the chieftain of the wolf tribe. Just then, Jiho gets an idea in her cute head. They are having trouble identifying a relic, so maybe Wolfie knows something about it. Wolfie has learned another thing about this world. Archaeologists here are a bit restarted. Jiho shows him this huge hammer that was also found in the same cave as Wolfgang. All the other relics from that cave were ordinary, so they easily identified them. However, this XL-size Mjolnir refused every analysis. Wolfgang extended his hand towards the hammer while telling them about Jonas, the son of Louis, who lived at the entrance of the village. A brave man who fought Wolfie for the position of chieftain of the wolf tribe. He was Wolfgang's closest friend. When the war broke out, Jonas gave it his all and welcomed a glorious death. This weapon belongs to the legend named Jonas. Following Jonas's departure, Wolfgang inherited this weapon and carried it across the battlefield. With this weapon, he took down tens of thousands of demons. Wolfgang wants to quickly find the demon who dealt the last blow to Jonas so he can avenge his brother. Seeing the depressed look on Wolfgang's face, Yeren holds his hand, saying that he doesn't have to carry all the burden alone. He now has companions by his side. She wants him to let them help him. Wolfie thanks her while Jiho apologizes for bringing back painful memories. Wolfie, in return, thanks her for letting him know the whereabouts of Jonas's weapon. He asks if his info was any beneficial for their research. While Jiho is still replying, Wolfgang notices this strange arrowhead and breaks the glass barrier to grab it. It's as if Wolfgang has lost his senses at seeing this here. The girls can't understand why Wolfgang is acting like this. The only way we can understand is through a flashback. This is the same arrowhead that Devil House shot at him. Back at the office, Yeren guesses that the stain on it must be Wolfie's blood. Turns out, she's right. He can still feel the holy power of the angel and the disgusting, stinky magic of that devil hose. Juhi now understands why she couldn't examine it. It was imbued with magic after all. However, Yeren is still giving Wolfie an earful for putting everyone in danger by messing with the barrier. Wolfgang accepts his mistake like a man, saying that he briefly lost control of his emotions. Juhi doesn't care about it because she got enough info to make up for it. She was already guessing something similar about the weapon, but that arrowhead was totally new. She thought it was some rare Windows XP drop, but it turned out to be much more than that. They wouldn't have struggled this much to realize it if only they had a devil hunter on their team who could distinguish between magic and holy power. That said, how come Wolfie can tell the difference when even an A-ranker like her had no clue? Wolfgang tells her that he doesn't know any specific way to distinguish between them, but after facing so many demons, he can naturally recognize it. Juhi desperately needs a devil hunter to speed up her research, but despite numerous requests, the association still hasn't sent anyone. Doc doesn't want this baddie's aggro on him, so he keeps his head down. Just then, another idea pops up in her mind. She suggests that Wolfgang become a devil hunter. She explains her reasoning by first going back a couple of days when Doc asked her to look into a demon named Devil House. In return, he'll ask Wolfgang to visit the lab. It's true that being an A-rank hunter, more database information is accessible to her, but archaeology hunters can only access data on the things that have been discovered. However, when it comes to demons, devil hunters are granted the most access. It is one of the rarest hunter classes, but with Wolfie's qualifications, it should be a piece of cake. Wolfgang is interested, so he asks how to become one. Juhi reveals that he only needs to pass the hunter promotion exam. She's interrupted by Yeren's reaction, who reveals that the promotion exams are suspended for a while. Doc confirms that he also heard that the Adidas spear was damaged a few days ago in one of the exams, so they are holding them off until they find another suitable relic. Doc wonders what could have happened to damage a relic like that. Anyways, Juhi and Yeren are now sad because becoming a devil hunter is out of the question now. Just then, this other guy we forgot exists tells everyone that there is another way, a way to obtain a devil hunter license. That is, enrolling in an academy. He understands that it's not a conventional way, but if Wolfie meets the conditions and passes the exams, he'll be granted a license through certification from a trusted institution. Doc confirms that he heard a similar case as well. Juhi, the only sane and incredibly beautiful person, highlights that most of the students there should be in their 20s. She then asks Wolfie, out of curiosity, what his age was when he was stoned. A lion doesn't concern itself with age because age is just a number. Yeah, bro, that's what the big Stein said. Anyways, Wolfie tells his age in the most aura-farming way possible. Since his birth, the 4 seasons have passed 33 times. To Juhi's surprise, Wolfie is younger than him. Juhi being older makes her the perfect mommy candidate. Juhi is 36, by the way. She jokes that she's her Nuna. Ung thought she was being serious, so he respects the title she earned in this tribe and calls her Juhi Nuna, saying that with a straight face is nothing short of rage bait. Meanwhile, Junhwan is narrating the same dungeon message parking lot script to the new hunter they managed to scam. Now that he's free, he wonders what to do. He remembers Foreman saying that he would pick up the new hunter who arrived yesterday. Just as he passes by Wolfie's room, he thinks about how Wolfie is surely not an F rank. He needs to assess his condition to see whether he should be discarded or not. He'll get all the answers he needs if they exchange a single blow. Nan Juan Bro is walking to his demise. Meanwhile, Wolfie and Yiren are discussing how she is eligible to write a recommendation letter for him. Also, the MU agency has a partnership with the Academy, so Wolfie's hunter activities can be suspended during his Academy time. If Wolfie doesn't want his contract extended because of the suspension, he can transfer to Jiho's guild after graduating. She'll take care of his contract termination fee. Yep, the baddie is bagged. Wolfie doesn't want to complicate his life, so he leaves all these non-action decisions to Yiren. She thinks that Jiho's guild would be better suited to find Devil House. Now the biggest issue at hand is the admission fee they need to pay to the Academy. Wolfie has already realized just how bad the economy is. These people can't do anything without money. Yeah, bro, wait till you become a professional athlete and your neighbor's second cousin's albino student's family doctor's third shift clinic's secretary's dog's ex-master comes for you, claiming that you ballooned her up and now you need to pay child support. Jinwan interrupts them, saying that he can take care of the admission fee, of course, for a favor in return. He wants Wolfgang to hit. Not like that, though, an actual hit. Wolfgang warns him that this bravado means nothing if it costs him his life. Wolfgang doesn't want to claim someone's life just for the sake of admission money. Junhwan tells him that despite his messed up look and lifeless eyes and lonely life, he's still a C-rank combat-type hunter, someone who wouldn't go down in a single hit. Yiren is surprised because she didn't expect this corporate gooner to be a strong guy. Junhwan could see that the two are not believing him, so he once again claims that with the special properties of his constellation, even an A-ranker isn't a problem for him. Yiren knows that it's plain BS, but Unk's confidence has shaken her thinking abilities. If a C-ranker is operating under the radar, maybe his power goes beyond C-rank. That thing in his hand must be the holy relic of the constellation he contracted with. She warns Wolfgang about the holy relic, but Wolfie has made up his mind. A barbarian doesn't refuse a man's request. He interprets the warning as Yiren's go-ahead that a man with a relic should be able to withstand a punch, right? He also wants to see what the relic can do. He asks Yiren to step back and tells Junhwan to unleash the constipation. Junhwan's constellation is the Sacred Royal Medallion. The unique property is that the constellation can directly possess the contractor's body, something extremely rare. Also, Junhwan now looks like that really expensive assassin who shows off his fit for 2 panels and then gets clapped by MC. If this person is the owner of the Sacred Royal Medallion, it should be Park Munsu. Junhwan's constellation casts a magic that creates lots of his copies and forms a circle around both. Wolfgang asks if he's supposed to hit them all, but Munsu, possessing Junhwan's body, tells him to ignore these clones since they are only here to draw up holy power. The constellation he contracted with unleashes the power directly proportional to how corrupt the enemy is to punish them strictly. For innocent guys, these clones are nothing to worry about. Wolfgang understands. Wolfgang walks forward. Wolfgang hits Munsu with a light punch. Munsu is on the ground. Clones disappear. By the time Yiren could see anything, Munsu was already lying on his back staring at the sky, admiring how beautiful the sunset is. Yiren and Wolfie are now worried that they might have decreased the employee count of MU agency by 1 point. Thankfully, Unk is alive, and Yiren doesn't have to worry about her child's admission fee now. She reminds Unk of the wager and tells him to be at the Academy's Hell Stairs by 9 a.m. on Monday. A lion doesn't concern itself with taking its victim to the hospital, so Wolfie walks away with Yiren. Junhwan gets up, and he's now sure that Wolfie isn't a bad guy. No evil energy was detected, so he's not someone to throw away. Aside from that, he can't believe Wolfie landed a barehanded punch while he was possessed by Munsu. Just who is this Wolfgang guy? Maybe he's a constellation, or maybe he's someone even higher. The scene cuts to this Jinwoo guy who's taking a self-test to see how strong he is now. Seeing a score of 2027 relieves him a bit that his training is finally showing results. A few days later, Junhwan, Yiren, and Wolfgang are climbing the hell stairs of the academy Wolfie is about to enroll in. Yiren is telling Junhwan to hurry up as she thinks he's intentionally falling behind to avoid paying tuition. But this woman has no idea what years of gooning does to a man's knees. He covers this fact by saying that he still hasn't recovered from the time his constellation took control of his body. At the academy, this admissions guy tells Yiren that she's lucky because the deadline was supposed to be last week, but someone destroyed the promotion exam artifact of Adidas, so they had to extend the admission deadline by a week. Yeah, that someone he's referring to is sitting in front of him, but he doesn't have to know that. Since they already have a license, they don't need to take an admission test. Just the academy tests are enough to raise a hunter's rank from F to D. Yiren is happy that Wolfie can enroll in the academy because of the artifact Wolfie destroyed that forced Wolfie to enroll in this academy, which is only possible because Wolfie destroyed that artifact. Yiren asks if the academy actually has the authority to issue a Devil Hunter license directly. The admission guy confirms that Professor Kim Song-chul, the head of the Devil Hunter department, does have this authority. Fortunately, he's also the homeroom teacher for F-rankers, so they are bound to meet him soon. Since it would take some time for him to process the documents, he asks the student to follow him to the classroom. whereas the father of the student Wolfgang should wait here. After processing the documents, they will proceed to the money matters. At this point, Yaren embarrassingly reveals that this Unk is actually the student. The admissions guy apologizes for not considering that the father might have awakened in his late years. Before she could correct him, he asks who he should discuss the fee matter with. At this point, the zombie with nearly expired bones, Mr. Jinwan, has finally made it to the end of the stairs, so Yaren points at him. On their way to the classroom, the admission guy asks Wolfie about his weapon, so Wolfie reveals that he uses a long sword. Regardless of their ranks, every student needs to take a specialty class, so they surely require a weapon. Yaren didn't know that, so they already entrusted it to Jiho for research purposes. Wolfie states that it's not an issue because he can use it whenever he wants. Before Yaren could ask what he means by that, a Hayabusa passes by them, only that this speedy Sonic was actually an old man named Kim Song. The admissions guy stops the professor and politely asks him to take this new F-rank Devil Hunter applicant to the class with him. Including Wolfie, Professor now has 2 Devil Hunter applicants this year. Since Yaren and Wolfie are parting ways here, she asks him if he'll be okay and to call her if anything happens. She already taught him how to use a phone. Also, she tells him to mind his manners and do not cause any trouble for the sensei, and he shouldn't hit any other person. After the lecture, Wolfie walks off while Yaren is still worried. Junwan tells her that it's normal for a mother to worry for her son while sending her off to the military. Yaren doesn't appreciate the comment, but this admission guy turns her aggression towards him by saying that Wolfie's 2 children shall now proceed with him to pay the fees. Inside the hallway, they notice some Hall of Fame thingy that displays the top student of each graduating class. Jinwan was in the 10th class year, and the topper for that year was Jin Sung. Jinwan came in second because his stamina score was lower than Jin Sung. We already saw that on the stairs anyway. Yaren must have heard about him. The foreign constellation contractor from one of the country's top conglomerates. Jinwan adds that this guy had enough generational wealth to live comfortably, yet he's a hunter and an amazing guy. Yaren remembers him now. The guy who secured constellation packs for his entire family. Jinwan adds that it means nothing to him because he couldn't earn his father's approval despite that. With generational wealth comes daddy issues. His family dreams of succeeding as a hunter, and this dream was forced upon Jin Song. At first it was educational, but now it seems creepy. Jinwan shouldn't know this much about someone else's family. The admissions guy is back. Jinwan is recommending Wolfie for an industry academic scholarship. Students recommended by MU agency have their admission fee and first semester's tuition fee waived. Yaren finally understands why this Unk offered to pay the fee. Well, obviously Junwan wouldn't actually be paying with money. If he had that much, he wouldn't still be Uber's top customer. In that case, they need to sign some additional forms, so the admissions guy takes him to the office. Junwan emotionally blackmails Yaren into waiting for him and not leaving a guy without a car behind. Yaren is grateful to Junwan, but for some reason she still hates him. Anyways, she wonders where the famous Jin Song disappeared to. He has been off the charts for some time now. Inside the office, Junwan notices another guy. The admissions guy says that he's also there for enrollment purposes. Junwan sits beside that guy while thinking that he has seen this guy somewhere. Just as he gets a closer look, his flabbers are gasted at seeing that the person is Jin Song. Yaren is still wondering where that prodigy named Jin Song disappeared to. Also, she has never met him yet, but something about him seems familiar. Meanwhile, this jack dude named Jin Woo, the guy from those promotion exams, is also here. He doesn't want to enter Professor Kim Sung-cheol's office, but he has no choice. Just as he is standing there complaining, this Unk sneaks up behind him and takes at least 20 gallons of protein jars off him. Still scared, he asks Unk who he is, only to find out that standing in front of him is his sensei. Turns out Jin Woo is the other guy who applied for Devil Hunter's course. The reason Jin Woo finds Devil Hunters pathetic is that they don't get those 3-4 episodes long budget-draining fights. Instead, they are like the United Nations. They only have the duty and ability to observe. The most intense action they can take is tweeting against the party in question. Professor corrects his partially true opinion. Tracking demons is their primary duty, but they don't have to avoid combat. In fact, they are often the first ones to come in contact with demons. Just then, Jinwoo sees the guy who ruined his test and crashes out. He charges at Wolfie with all his might while claiming that he ruined his life. Aura Farmer, the kid with his kitty backpack, dodges the attack easily and holds his fist, grabs him by the waist and slams him into the wall upside down. Wolfie peacefully asks him if it was the Songshin Guild that sent him. Jinwoo is now angrier because Wolfie doesn't even remember him. Imagine someone ruins your life, forgets you, and then pins you in a 69 position. The professor has to interrupt them by using his magic to break them apart. Plovin stares at the professor and asks what he's trying to do here. Even the professor's magic wasn't enough to pull off Wolfie. Anyways, the professor then states that fighting on campus may result in expulsion, and he doesn't want to lose the 2 students assigned to him after so long. He presents an alternate solution, a duel with him refreeing the match, a duel to settle their past scores. Meanwhile, Yaren is still waiting for Junwan on the Hell Stairs, whereas Junwan is busy reliving past memories with Gaeval's sorry rival. Jin Sung is still maintaining that secretive personality where he refuses to share anything. He has always been like this. Junhwan changes his question and asks if he's still pursuing that power. If so, they should stop now. That's the only advice Junhwan can give him as a former friend. Jinsung counters by saying that Junhwan is the one who should get rid of the useless horse tally that he can't even use most of the time. He's partially right, but Junhwan isn't going to give up on it because this is the only holy relic that can stand up against someone who has a contract with a demon. Jinsung realizes that he still doesn't like this guy. It would have been better if they didn't run into each other, something they should make sure of from this point onwards. He then walks off, while Yeren is now even more curious about the guy that disappeared, showing up out of nowhere. Meanwhile, Wolfgang is disappointed in the professor for telling them to only fight using a small portion of their constellation's power. However, the professor explains that both Wolfie and Jinwoo are here to become demon hunters who can only distinguish and locate traces of demons by sensitively using their constellation's power. If they can't handle that much, they won't ever become devil hunters. Consider this duel a test as well. Wolfie asks what if someone can't use a constellation's power. Professor replies that they'll have to transfer to another school in that case. Jinwoo laughs at Wolfie for applying without even knowing this much. Question 2. Is a constellation's power the only allowed power to use? The professor replies that he can allow other methods as long as there are no physical attacks. Getting hurt may not be avoidable, but he wants to keep the damage to a minimum. Jinwoo has zero questions to ask. He's just happy to finally get this opportunity to slime his enemy. Jinwoo uses the constellation's power to lick the balls, pick the balls, and throw them as hard as possible at Wolfie. The first one was a fireball that landed at Wolfie's feet to scare him off. Wolfie is unhappy with his clothes being ruined. Jinwoo considers forgiving Wolfie if he begs on all fours. Wolfie, on the other hand, wants to talk, but this waste of a nut isn't listening, so Wolfie changes his approach. He allows Jinwoo to do whatever he can in 1 minute. Meanwhile, Yeren and Jinhwan are finally done with the documentation and are heading back when Yeren asks him what's the story between him and Jinsung. The vibe was strange. Are they ex-lovers or something? But Jinhwan reveals that they were rivals. They had this love-hate relationship that helped both get stronger than ever. Still, Yeren finds it strange that they are still like that. Maybe Time doesn't have a 100% success rate, despite being the best healer. Yeren didn't think that they actually hated each other. Jinsung was never good at communication. That makes this reconciliation with an old friend really difficult. Jinwoo is given a free minute to show his abilities by doing whatever he wants. Instead of using these 60 seconds to feel those abs, Jinwoo spams attacks. Even the professor thinks that Jinwoo went too far, but Jinwoo still hates Wolfie for ruining his contract with the constellation. Wolfie must have pulled a cheap trick or something. The professor stops him and tries to do some damage control, hoping that Wolfie isn't in a critical condition. Meanwhile, the victim in question is disappointed with the quality of these garments. How come they reduce to ashes with such weak attacks? Yeren has taught him about public decency, so he opens a portal to this guy, Younghyun guy, and grabs his clothes. Also, he borrows his pelt of Fenrir for a bit. Before Jiho and Dok Chui could understand what's happening, the portal closes. Wolfie uses the clothes to cover up the disallowed weapon and throws the pelt up front, which confuses Jinwoo a bit. All those balls in the trolley, but Jinwoo still doesn't have any. Wolfie then states that something has been bothering him for a while now. Not Jinwoo's steroid muscle, but the tattoo on his arm. No, it's not the tattoo of laughing coffins from SAO. That's the power of demons. Wolfie jumps behind Jinwoo, and without hitting him or anything, he simply unleashes his aura and the tattoo reacts to it. Not just reacts, but this three-headed dog comes out of it. Wolfie asks what the dog doing, when it should be gatekeeping the underworld like you guys gatekeep a good restaurant and complain when it goes bankrupt and closes. Flashback time. Jinwoo was clearly told by his Oni-chan that he would be held accountable for ruining that constellation contract, so he should form a contract with Cerberus to regain his power now. Jinwoo protested that Cerberus is a demon who'll demand a steep price from him. He's not haggard to be able to tame it. Jinwoo tried to refuse, but Jinsung told him that if he refuses, all his steroids would go to waste, because the user will no longer exist in the server. Jinwoo is terrified at seeing Cerberus out here, so he tells everyone to run away before Cerberus claims their lives. Wolfie grabs his mouth from behind and edges the story towards a Balmane. Thankfully, it's not. He's shutting up Jinwoo because the more he's afraid, the stronger Cerberus would grow. Also, the stronger it gets, the more of Jinwoo's lifespan would he ask for. Wolfie has witnessed many lives get destroyed through these demon contracts. He doesn't want that tragedy to repeat again, so he tells Jinwoo to steady his breathing and stare into the beast's eyes. Jinwoo doesn't have enough strength, so Wolfie decides to show him that relying on a demon's power is never the true path to strength. The professor is also staying back to see how things are going to unfold. Just then, the pelt Wolfgang threw earlier is emitting this terrifying aura. Both the professor and Jinwoo are shaken by the sheer aura this pelt is emitting. It transforms into this scary wolf who greets Wolfgang. Cerberus is feeling thrice the fear than Jinwoo does because of 3 dog heads compared to Jinwoo's 1 dog head. Wolfie welcomes his old friend Fenrir, saying that he wanted to make sure Fenrir's fangs aren't getting rusty. Cerberus can't move his body at this point, which disappoints Fenrir. He didn't expect Wolfie to summon him for something this weak, something that has already lost the will to fight. That's not why he called him. It's to inform Fenrir that he's starting once again. He's initiating the demon's subjugation again. Fenrir reminds him that a millennium has passed, yet Wolfgang seems tied down by his past. Anyways, he's gonna return and stockpile his strength, while also informing his comrades that Wolfgang the warrior has returned. Wolfie should deal with this dog himself. Fenrir then disappears while Jinwoo is still shocked at seeing a wolf talk. Meanwhile, that Gunnar is still on the stairs after a gazillion years. Yeren is yelling at Jinwon to hurry up. She has been waiting for 3 chapters at this point. Just then, they see something strange in the sky. It's Wolfie's giant sword finally reaching its master. Wolfie now understands why it's called an antique. It's because of how slow it is. At least it got here before Junwon climbed down the stairs. Without even touching the sword, he just lets it land over Cerberus and ends all 3 heads at once. Back at the professor's office, he explains that making a contract with a demon isn't illegal. It's not that uncommon among devil hunters, unlike other hunters, because it helps in tracking demons. What the professor is curious about is that Jinwoo's older brother was one of the most promising hunters of this generation, and his father is a renowned martial artist/billionaire. So why would Jinwoo make a contract with a demon? He can easily acquire the holy relic needed for a contract with this background. Jinwoo tries to stay silent until his lawyer is here, but Professor states that he can either keep the answer to himself or study at this academy. He can only choose one because Professor needs to know what he's dealing with, since a demon contract is a double-edged sword. For example, the contract he made with Cerberus demanded half of his remaining lifespan. This even shocks Wolfie, because he didn't expect the situation to be this dire. Jinwoo finally speaks up about his family issues. They were at their peak when Jin Sung made a contract with the constellation known as the Descendant of the Barbarian. They already had money and fame from being a prestigious martial arts family. This contract made them one of the big shots in the country, on their way to becoming the greatest family in Korea. His father is seen as a rich tycoon right now, not like that Jeong guy who can see the body count as well, but he can see enough money. However, becoming a legendary martial artist has always been the true dream. The contract of the constellation even extended to Jin Sung's family members, so their father's dream was finally coming true. Everyone was celebrating until the day the family's second son, who had always been a disappointment like a middle child, caused a disaster. He's talking about that promotion test day when the constellation terminated his contract, along with the contracts with his family members. All because of Wolfgang. However, Wolfgang accepts zero responsibility for that incident. The constellation himself punished him for acting ignorant, despite borrowing the barbarian's power. Even Wolfie didn't expect the constellation to terminate the contract, but that only shows that he had already begun to doubt his contract with Jinwoo's family. Jinwoo can't accept this speculation. Wolfie can say what he wants about Jinwoo, but his brother is a genius among geniuses. Like Magnus among chess players, Messi among footballers, AOT among anime, Black D among Ds. Jinwoo knows that he's the reason the contract fell off. Wolfie doesn't know Jin Sung, so he can't say anything about it, but he's sure that the power of the Barbarian constellation wasn't being used properly. It was never about talent. If everyone in his family used the power like this, the Barbarian constellation was not a good match for them. Jinwoo is fixated on not taking responsibility for the consequences of their own actions. Just then, Jin Sung barges into the room with an anger level on par with poverty level in 2026 and orders his dumb brother to come outside. Meanwhile, Yeren made Junhwan climb up those stairs again as they want to make sure Wolfie hasn't caused a scene. Again, Junhwan is too close to taking his last step any moment now. Jinwoo is begging his brother for forgiveness, but Jin Sung is dragging him into the open area where he throws his pathetic brother like the trash younger siblings are. He reminds Jinwoo about what would happen if he lost this contract as well. Surely he can't understand the effort Jin Sung put into finding a way for Jinwoo to survive with words, so he's got to use his feet now. Wolfgang and Professor are heading after those guys. On their way, Professor states how he didn't get a chance to talk to Wolfie about him. Wolfie can't afford to have any problems acquiring a Devil Hunter license, so he tells Professor to ask whatever he wants. It's about how Wolfie sensed the demonic presence before the spar even began. Professor humbly states that he's better at using Constellation's powers than any other active Devil Hunter out there, yet he didn't sense the demonic presence until much later. Even after he sensed it, he didn't realize it was Cerberus until Cerberus left Jinwoo's body. Moreover, the spatial magic that Wolfie used, the summoning magic to call out Fenrir, and something like telekinesis to call his weapon, Wolfie coming to this academy makes zero sense. The professor has never seen a hunter with so many abilities before. Professor suggests that Wolfie just skip the academy and wait until the promotion exam opens again because that should be a much faster approach for him. Also, Professor isn't sure if there's anything that he could teach this already amazing guy. Wolfie interrupts Professor and rushes towards Yeren, who's trying to stop Jin Sung from taking his own brother's life. Junhwan is also trying to calm Jin Sung down, saying that he wasn't like this before. What has gotten into him? Finally, Jin Sung is stopped by this well-deserved slap from the professor, who reminds him that hunters aren't allowed to fight outside dungeons. Fighting inside the academy can revoke his license, plus he needs to apologize for dragging away the professor's student without asking for permission first. He should stop now, or the professor's eyes make it clear that he knows other ways to stop him. Jin-sung has calmed down a bit and asks why the professor is still referring to Jin-woo as his student. Jin-woo has no contract with a constellation, and to make it worse, he made a contract with a demon, yet is the professor allowing him to enroll in the academy? Professor replies that his contract with a constellation is a completely separate issue from whether he becomes his student. Jin-sung requests that he allow his brother to enroll here and walks out of the campus. Jin-woo is lying in the infirmary and not getting any treatment or medications, so Yerin asks if it's okay. Professor reveals that there are multiple barriers around the university. One of those is healing magic that is already healing Jin-woo as they speak. However, the magic can only heal physical bruises and not the mental damage he took. Yerin wonders just what happened for a big brother to treat his younger bro like this. Professor looks back at how Jin-woo was defending his brother like it's end of the world or like a die-hard BTS fan. Also, how Jin-sung quietly left once the professor informed him that he's still letting Jin-woo enroll. Only those two know what is going on. Wolfie is back after retrieving Cerberus's corpse and is ready to go. Just as Yerin is about to touch the fur, he stops her, saying that it still emits ominous energy. Meanwhile, at the parking lot, Junwon is giving Jin-sung an earful for handling the situation in the most absurd way possible. He could have relied on words or waited for Jinwoo to be back home before lashing out like this. Jin-sung wants Junwon to stay out of their family matter. Junwon is still trying to understand what changed his old friend. He asks if it has anything to do with that recent disappearance. Jin-sung doesn't want him to jump to conclusions, and he wants this nosy guy to stop butting into his problems. But Junwon isn't giving up. Jin-sung blames their act of playing the secret royal inspector. As he's about to leave, he asks why Junwon stopped digging into his father's past, so Junwon reveals that it's because he quit the association. That means that the association must be aware of what kind of power his father is playing with. Junwon states that they don't know the full extent of it because he omitted it from the report. But clearly, the association won't be happy once they find out about Jin-sung and his family using the power of a demon. Jinwon didn't report it to the association because of his friendship with Jin-sung, but Jin-sung doesn't know whether he should thank him for it or resent him. Back at the archaeology office, Wolfie asks this guy to introduce him to a good blacksmith because he wants to turn the Cerberus corpse into armor. Yerin doesn't know much about this guy's stuff, so she lets Bro handle it. He explains to Woolife that there are specialized weapons for hunters, but it's not like they can show up at the manufacturer's door to have him make a weapon. They'll sell this Cerberus skin in the market to get money and use that money to buy armor from the same market. Yerin asks Bro to take a picture and upload it. In exchange, Bro asks her to help with some nerdy research stuff. When Wolfie is asked what kind of equipment he is looking to buy, he replies that he doesn't know because it's not for him. The Cerberus listing makes its way to Jinwoo's dad, who doesn't look happy with this. Upon his inquiry, his secretary reveals that Jinwoo hasn't returned from the academy yet. He gives the whole recap of the past few chapters where Jinwoo and Wolfie got into a fight and Cerberus died as a result. He also adds that Jin-sung then beat Jinwoo all the way to the infirmary. This Wolfgang guy seems suspicious, so Jinwoo's father orders the assistant to call for cleaners and have it handled quietly. Just as he was about to add Jinwoo as well to the list of people that cleaners should deal with, he stops because he wants to prioritize Jin-sung's mental stability. He orders them to bring Jinwoo here, saying that he'll decide on the final deposition. Just as he is about to walk out, he sees Jin-sung listening in on their conversation. Jin-sung tries to deny hearing anything, but he's their golden boy, so the father doesn't mind it. He even tells Jin-sung that the power of this world is soon going to belong to them since he is awakening soon. Instead of being happy, Jin-sung looks terrified at this news. After he leaves, his father asks the chief secretary to keep an eye on Jin-sung as well. Flashback time. Jinwoo wakes up and sees Jin-sung holding a Cerberus tattoo, telling him to engrave it on his body so he can make a contract with Cerberus. Once Cerberus appears, Jin-sung tells Jinwoo to accept whatever it demands. It may not be as good as their previous constellation, but with this and a Devil Hunter license, Jinwoo can climb up to C rank. Jinwoo pulls his arm away, saying that he might be a sinner, but making a contract with a demon is too far even for him. Jin-sung tells him that he doesn't have a choice because if he refuses, he'll die. Their father isn't the type to have any mercy, even on his own blood. Making a contract with a demon might please their father, so this is kind of like insurance. Their father has dedicated the last few years to awakening the power that no one in this world possesses. Jinwoo suggests that Jin-sung ask for his association friends' help to stop their father. He doesn't want to form this contract, especially since Cerberus demands half of the contractor's lifetime. Jin-sung tells him that he can't get Junhwan involved, no matter what, because if he does, Junhwan will die. This contract with Cerberus is their only shot at surviving. Back to the present, Jinwoo wakes up in tears, thinking about his brother. Just then, a portal opens, and a gigantic hand extends towards him. Knowing how terrifying it might look to someone who just regained consciousness, Wolfie tries to calm him down by telling him to surrender peacefully. Meanwhile, Jin-sung is back at the academy, disguised as a usual suspect with a mask and everything. He's here to get Jinwoo before his father gets him. For some reason, the professor is still in his office and sees Jin-sung sneaking through the hallway. By the time Jin Sung reaches the infirmary, his brother has already surrendered peacefully and been dragged into the void. Unfortunately, the professor catches up to him as well and sends him to air jail. He tells Jin Sung the same thing Wolfie said to Jinwoo, surrender peacefully. Meanwhile, Jinwoo asks why Wolfie keeps coming back into his life. Wolfie tells him that he's going to make Jinwoo his first subordinate, so he shall take off all the layers of fabric for measurement purposes. Jinwoo didn't know the portal led to this BL story, so he resists. But Wolfie clarifies that this will help him. If he proves his worth, Wolfie will try to convince the Barbarian constellation to form the contract again. Of course, Wolfie can't guarantee it, but the Barbarian constellation always acknowledges the effort. Just the slightest chance of fixing what he ruined is enough for Jinwoo to strip away his ego and agree to this favor. He asks Wolfie what kind of warrior he needs to become, so Wolfie tells him that from now on, he's going to be the ultimate shield warrior. After the measurements are taken, Wolfie tells this bro that they need to find a shield for Jinwoo, a shield that suits his gigantic body. Bro reveals that someone has already offered to buy the Cerberus carcass, so they can order a shield right away. Wolfie thinks that it would be best to see it in person, so they head out right away. While Jinwoo is carrying the Cerberus leftovers, he hopes the buyer is not his father. Just then, Yeren receives a message from the professor, most probably about the guy he caught. If he's back with another demonic mark to make Jinwoo sign another contract with a demon, the professor reminds him of just how steep the price is. However, Jin Sung stays silent, claiming that it's better this way. The professor disagrees, saying that they should rather run away from whatever problems they are facing. In fact, he'll help them escape. Jin Sung doesn't want to try Professor into his family's mess. The professor then reveals that Jinwoo is with Wolfie and the archaeologists, so contacting Junwon would lead him to Jinwoo. He also makes the decision not to accept Jinwoo as his student. Jin Sung lashes out, saying that the professor shouldn't go back on his word. Professor is no longer the nice guy as he tells him that devil hunters are the first ones to come in contact with demons. Devil hunters should always be prepared for death, even with the comrades they can trust. The professor, on the other hand, cannot trust someone who's only using the academy as a shelter. He can help them, but not until they give an explanation first. Finally, Jin Sung is talking now. Despite his father being a renowned martial artist, he was never chosen by a constellation. Despite being a major business tycoon, he knows the drawback of not being the chosen one in the era of hunters and constellations. Everything was good when Jin Sung formed a contract, but that was recently annulled. He remembers when he received his first invitation 15 years after his successful contract, but right after the invitation, his contract was annulled, and they told him not to come. Apart from the massive aura loss from being uninvited, his father couldn't handle this humiliation. Of course, he then formed a contract with a demon, a really powerful demon. Other than the Korea Hunter Association, no one can stop his power-hungry father. He doubts they'll do anything until it's too late. Professor understands all that, but what's with kicking his own younger brother earlier today? Jin Sung reveals that their father has already been consumed by the demon. He barely stopped his father from ending Jinwoo's solo leveling when he angered the constellation. He offered Jinwoo that demonic power to keep his father's hands off of him. Beating Jinwoo publicly was important, so his father would know that Jin Sung is dealing with Jinwoo. Otherwise, he'll take matters into his own hands. Moreover, Jin Sung reveals that his father has already summoned cleaners. Even the professor knows about the elite team of assassins who are stronger than A-rank hunters. He knows that he's in no position to ask for forgiveness, but he did everything to keep Jinwoo alive. None of this would have happened if the contract didn't fall through, but that doesn't mean Jinwoo deserves to become a thing of the past like the contract. He's still going to do everything in his power to deal with this family issue. The next day, this bro hands Jinwoo his new shield. Wolfie approves of this light and sturdy shield that is perfect for his first experience. A tight and sturdy shield. Jinwoo doesn't seem too happy with it. He wanted an attack weapon. He doesn't want to be Captain America, who's the biggest hypocrite of the Marvelverse, like condemning Nick Fury for the exact same thing he did to Tony. Wolfie wants Jinwoo to know his current limits. He can't scratch a demon with his current skill level, but with a shield he can stay alive until his skills are at that level. Jinwoo can't handle the disrespect. Wolfie looks at him and says to his face that he's a weak guy. Sure, his punches were strong, but he's not drawing out his full strength. He needs to learn to bring out his entire power at the right time. If he knew how to do that, he wouldn't have to rely on the demonic power when Wolfie got behind him in the spar yesterday. Jinwoo can't deny when Wolfie is actually talking facts, so he accepts his role as Captain Korea. The scene shifts to Kim Taegwon's residence, the father of Jin Sung and Jinwoo. He's in the basement with his chief secretary and this other girl. Taegwon is pouring his blood into this pot while saying that he won't be needing the association from now on. This demon pact is going to make him invincible. Just as his blood comes in contact with the liquid in that container, a red magic circle forms. Taegwon humbly and loudly calls upon the demon for its help by offering his blood. He casts the whole spell generated by ChatGPT. The chief secretary and his baddie wife can't wait for the chairman to become invincible, because overflowing power and money will definitely fall their way as well. The long spell is still going on. Something about accepting us as sacrifices and opening the gates of the abyss. Okay, so the one he's summoning is the Lord of the Darkness named Tenebris Domine Adveni. Finally, a hand extends out, a disgustingly large hand that grabs Taegwon by his face and consumes him to take this shape. Chief Secretary and his wife are now worried. With the chairman gone, who's going to promote them? Fortunately, promotion happens to be the least of their worries as the demon Tenebris uses his chain weapon to change Chief Secretary's status from married to single. The poor, powerless guy fails to protect the only woman he vowed to protect. Just then, Chief Secretary hears Taegwon's voice, claiming that the demon has taken over his body and he has lost control. He begs the secretary to call someone, anyone who can stop this demon, be it his sons or anyone else, while he's still conscious. The sun turns red and the entire sky is engulfed by this terrifying darkness. Professor has no idea what's happening, but Jin Sung has a clue. He hopes his hunch is wrong, but a sudden call from the chief secretary clears everything. At the same time, in the archaeological department's basement, Jinwoo is protesting that this isn't the right place for training. Basements are usually used to keep the lock K anyways. They should train at some other place. Unfortunately, archaeologists have no training ground. Wolfie tells the subordinate number 1 to calm down, and he shouldn't wear his emotions on his sleeves. This leaves him wide open for a counterattack. Jinwoo takes the advice like a man and starts working on it right away. Wolfie goes easy on him with the first punch and launches a meteor strike. Bro, how is that going easy? Somehow, with his steroid muscles and power of friendship, Jinwoo blocks it, although he's now several meters away from his original spot. Wolfie is impressed with how Jinwoo is still on his feet, even though that was just a light tap. Wolfie wants him to remember this stance and work on his footing. Jinwoo gets to it right away. He's serious when it matters. That's obvious because no way some slacker gets over 2,000 points. Seems like Wolfie has zero respect for the score that weak wall gives. It couldn't even handle Wolfie's slightly powerful punch. Just then, Jinwoo's phone rings, and Bro breaks his stance instantly. Before Wolfie could scold him about it, he noticed that the call didn't seem to be a happy one. It must have been a call from the chief's secretary, as Jinwoo excuses himself and immediately rushes out. Yeren wonders if everything is alright, whereas Wolfie has a bad feeling about this. He ordains forward back to the professor. He can't believe that Taegwon performed a demonic descent ritual. Chief Secretary further adds that Taegwon was still conscious by the time he escaped. He begs them to hurry so they can stop him in time. Jin Sung decides to go alone and asks the professor to inform the association about it. The professor reminds him that this is no longer a family issue. Anyone can notify the association. Instead, being a devil hunter, he should accompany him. Jin Sung thinks that a call from someone as strong as the professor will have more effect than a call from nobodies like the secretary or Jin Sung. Chief Secretary also wants to join so he can somehow rescue his wife, but Jin Sung tells him to stay here and look for anyone who can help. He promises to find his wife and heads out. Yui is still having that bad feeling, but now it's intensifying, so he decides to head out. Yeren makes sure that he's actually getting a bad feeling or if he simply wants to escape this cleaning up duty. Wolfie tells her to step near the window. It should be daytime outside, yet it's darker than under the bed. Not just that, but there's also that sinister aura in the air. Wolfgang is sure that a demon has appeared. Yeren is having a hard time believing it because a demon physically manifesting itself on the surface is different from a pact like the one subordinate number 1 made. Jinwoo's new name is subordinate number 1. Wolfie warns her that this won't be the case from now on. It looks like the demons are ready to begin their invasion. After waiting for 1,000 years, they are back to their dirty deeds again, and Wolfie is back to erase every demon from existence. At the same time, Jin Sung finally reaches his residence, and before he could enter, he realizes that it's too late. The house blows up like a Mr. Beast video, and lava erupts from it, going as high as the sun. Wolfie sees that and tells Yeren to evacuate to a safe place. Before going, she tells him to be careful. The Hunter Association will soon be on their way. Yeah, Wolfie ain't waiting for them. He's gonna make sure most of the demons meet their end by his blade. He's gonna make sure the demons are taken down by the last barbarian. Shin Sung is injured but alive. He's yelling at his father not to surrender to the demon. Turns out Tenebris is all for air pollution and dislikes noise pollution. He shuts Chin Sung up by using his chain to pierce his body while telling him that the man he's referring to no longer exists. However, Jin Sung wouldn't need to grieve his dad because he's not surviving that long. Starting with his father and Jin Sung, Tenebris intends to wipe out every human from the surface of Earth. Jin Sung is still trying to get his voice to his father so he can somehow rescue him, but Tenebris is confused. Jin Sung is Korean, yet he can't understand what he's telling him in Korean, that his papa is gone. Tenebris then aims for Jin Sung's head to target the empty space to shut him up, but before contact, the arrow spear in front of that chain is blocked by Jinwoo's shield. With a smile on his face, Jinwoo tells Jin Sung that this time, he's definitely going to help him. The scene cuts to China, where Shihao and baddie Yang Yang, 2 A-rank hunters, are about to clear the dungeon on their own. Just then, they are hit by a dragon's breath that is blocked by Yang Yang, so Shihao uses that opportunity to end the dragon. They have finally cleared an A-rank dungeon on their own. Unfortunately, their celebration is cut short by a surprise attack. 2 hits, and both the A-rankers are sent to the afterlife before they could even notice the enemy. That's because the enemy is a cleaner with the constellation Messenger of the Night. Even A rankers are nothing to him. The cleaner then heads to the next target's location right away. His next target happens to be Wolfgang. Okay, so this was a flashback because in the present this cleaner is already in Korea. Not just in Korea, but there he is on top of the building behind Wolfie. He doesn't care about what's happening, instead this dark sky and chaotic scenario will make the job easier. Calling a cleaner for an F rank means that there must be something strange about him. He's got to end him swiftly, and this is the perfect chance. He uses the same attack he did with those A rankers, but Wolfie notices it in time and blocks it with his sword. However, gas leaks out on contact. It was a double-layered attack. Just as the cleaner is about to inform his officers about the success, he sees the constellation's warning. His constellation is terrified and screaming for him to retreat. Mr. Cleaner couldn't understand the warning, but with Wolfie's attack a second later, Mr. Cleaner finally understood. With a single slash, Wolfie eliminates the hunter and tells him that Wolfie never becomes a target and no one should interfere with his hunt. The cleaner got cleaned off this story real quick, so let's move back to Jinwoo, who's still blocking the attacks and shielding his brother. He's keeping Wolfie's instructions in mind, hoping to hold out until other hunters follow the explosion here. Unfortunately, Tenebris ain't waiting that long. Before Jinwoo could notice, a different demon was already in front of him. He threw Jinwoo on top of the very person he was trying to shield. Still confused about where this demon came from, Jinwoo notices the giant hole in front of Tenebris. That hole is now serving as a gateway between humans and the underworld demons. Within an instant, he sees lots of monsters climbing out, ready to turn the place into hell. Jinwoo can either be terrified and run away, or man up and protect his brother. He obviously chooses the latter and blocks every monster's attack coming their way. He's fully determined to hold out until other hunters arrive. One after another, the attacks keep raining down on him to the point where his shield cracks. Now he's got to fight on with just willpower. He can't back out because that would mean leaving his brother to die. Just then, a sword comes flying through and slashes the monster. It belongs to none other than Wolfgang. He praises Jinwoo for holding out and tells him that he's a man worthy of standing in front of his comrades with a shield in hand. Wolfie then steps forth to take the lead in this battle. With a single slash, he removes all these random extras from the story. The only one left now is Tenebris, who wastes no moment to attack. Wolfgang blocks it with ease and tells Jinwoo to rest and enjoy the main character in action. Wolfgang closes the gap between them and tells him to spill out everything he knows about Devil House. Wolfgang is feeling generous, so he offers to give Tenebris a clean death if he complies. Tenebris laughs at this mockery, but Wolfie isn't joking. He's actually going to erase Tenebris' existence. The demon is still not taking a mere human seriously, so he casts Umbra Servitus, a shadow binding spell to humble this out-of-place human. Wolfgang isn't pleased with these cheap tricks. Tenebris thinks that the fight is over, but Wolfgang is still holding his sword. Using that sword, he slices through the demonic chains and breaks free of Tenebris' shadow. At this point, Tenebris agrees that Wolfie may not be an ordinary human like others. While he's still yapping, Wolfie has gotten bored with him, so he jumps straight at Tenebris and stabs him in the chest with his sword. After careful analysis, Wolfie concludes that Tenebris is weak, so weak that Wolfie won't even bother asking his name. Okay, this is getting too far for the demon Ombrax. The healthy trash talk earlier was cool, but now what Wolfie is doing is straight up disrespectful. He orders his minions to crush Wolfie, but the one getting crushed is this stone-hard demon. Jinwoo tried giving a heads up to Wolfgang, but now he's feeling embarrassed. Seeing Wolfgang in action has made Jinwoo realize something. No matter what happens, he's got to stay on Wolfgang's good side, or it will be him flying in the air like these demons. After Wolfie's arrival, he has to dodge the flying bodies of demons to protect his brother. Wolfie tells him to go to a safe place before he's crushed. Jinwoo humbly, very humbly obliges while thanking God that Wolfie is on their side and not the enemy's side. Meanwhile, the demon is feeling exactly opposite to Jinwoo. Just who is this guy? With no options left, he decides to use his trump card. He casts this Umbra Evolutionist spell that casts a shadow of evolution. Wolfie is calmly waiting for Ombrax to finish whatever trick he's trying to pull off now. With an evolved body, the demon charges at Wolfie, so Wolfie tries to finish it off with a single strike. Jinwoo is very disappointed with this modded move and calls out Ombrax for cheating. The demon is also showing off the villain's smile he practiced a lot before awakening. Simply swinging your sword was never going to be enough to defeat someone as strong as Ombrax. A lion doesn't concern itself with modded players, so Wolfie still thinks that he can defeat Ombrax. Okay, the rage bait is now getting to the point where Ombrax has to rely on bad words. He tells Wolfie something about the offspring of a female dog and goes in for the final attack. Just as the attack is about to land, we're sent to a flashback where Wolfie asks his best friend Jonas about the demons that can't be hit. Jonas did hear about the demons who can turn themselves into shadows or mist, but he still thinks Wolfgang has nothing to be afraid of. Wolfie has no reason to be afraid because of Jonas's warhammer that is blessed by angels with the power of lightning. Yep, this shadow form means nothing to Mjolnir. Wolfie brings out the blessed Mjolnir, and now Ombrax realizes that his time is already over. Despite waking up after so long, Ombrax couldn't even get any demonacy before going back to sleep, eternal sleep this time. Wolfie thanks Jonas as he slams Ombrax with the mighty hammer and drains most of Ombrax's HP. Wolfie gives him one last chance to give information about Devil House's whereabouts. Ombrax uses this opportunity to transform into slimy, spermy form and run away. At least the chairman's body has been extracted now. Well, Lil Bro couldn't run far before getting electrocuted by Wolfie. Unfortunately, Ombrax ended up falling into the very pit he created. Wolfgang is not happy with losing the only lead he had on Devil House. Just then, this four-eyed baddie walks up and orders all the hunters to eliminate the remaining monsters. She approaches Wolfie and introduces herself as Choi Eun-ha, the vice president of the Hunter Association. She informs him that the hunters will take care of the remaining monsters. Meanwhile, she requests that Wolfie accompany her to the Hunter Association. That is, if he wants information about the Demon Lord Devil House. At the Hunter Association, Wolfgang meets the president of the Hunter Association, Lee Jung-wan. Mr. President looks like he's used to mogging others, but coming across the peak male physique is making even him nervous. He's judging Wolfie, and so far, Wolfie defeating Ombrax seems no fluke. Since Wolfie is not a talkative guy, he cuts straight to the main topic. Lee tells him that the Demon Devil House is located in the Underhell. Demons can't handle the sunlight well, so they retreated deep underground in their weak times and built the Underhell. Right now, the Underhell is crawling with demons and their underlings. Thankfully, the demons haven't surfaced from Underhell in Korea. Limlin Trulvi doesn't need explanations regarding Underhell. What he needs to know is where the entry point to Underhell is. Lee still has more to share, so he brings up Wolfie shattering the holy relic at the Hunter promotion exam. He then brings up the slime barrier that Wolfie destroyed in the dungeon, then the Cerberus incident, then the Cleaner incident, and now the Ombrax fight. After giving the recap of the last 20 chapters, Lee says that a powerful being coming back to life and then tangling up with demons one after another doesn't sound like a coincidence. Before they cooperate, Lee needs to verify Wolfie's identity and his true motives. He brings out his paper fan and his constellation, Son of Hwanong, and summons an altar, the altar of Chamsongdan. Standing at that altar, Wolfie inquires if Lee is implying that he's sided with demons. Lee clarifies that he doesn't, but a man with that much responsibility has got to be cautious. Vice Pres Batty looks at her watch, saying that Lee and Wolfie should be back from the altar anytime now. She expected them to be back sooner, but maybe Lee is investigating thoroughly because Wolfie seems like a dangerous threat. She can't help her imagination going wild at the cool president bending Wolfie to his will with his might. Finally, the two are back from the altar and the one on his knees is the president. Wolfie walks out straight up while stating that for a guy in his position, Lee is pathetically weak. Yuna is confused about what happened inside, but she tells Wolfie to refer to Lee with respect. He's the pinnacle of Korean hunters. Wolfie clarifies that he doesn't mean to disrespect, he's just stating facts. Yuna is perfectly rage-baited, so she immediately brings out her constellation, the concubine of Emperor Xuanzong of Tong, a baddie constellation of a baddie hunter. Lee tries to warn her not to try anything unnecessary, but her constellation is already on the way to seduce Wolfie. He's not stoned right now, but maybe rock hard. Just kidding, Wolfie is a warrior who is happily married. These useless attempts can never sway him. Seeing him not react, Yuno thinks that he's under her control now, but Bro isn't moving because he's still waiting to see what this weak constellation was supposed to achieve here. Anyway, he has no interest in this stuff, so he puts Yunho to the ground. Now then, Wolfie approaches Lee and asks him to reveal everything he knows about the Underhell. Meanwhile, on the third floor sector of the Underhell, Ombrax is in the Royal Hall of Devil House, asking him to do a favor for his friend. Devil House stops him there and asks when they ever became friends. When Wolfie wiped out Devil House's entire army, Ombrax used it as an opportunity to usurp his territory. Ombrax begs for help in exchange for important information. That is, he ran into a barbarian on the surface. A barbarian who's actively searching for Devil House to hunt him down. Okay, that was actually important information, so Devil House agrees to lend a hand. Judging by Ombrax's pathetic state, Wolfie can already tell that he wants safe passage back to his territory. Ombrax is grateful for the help and promises to help Devil House descend to a sector deeper than the third floor of the Underhell once he recovers. A deeper sector sounds interesting, but what's more interesting is turning this sperm-shaped backstabber into a stone. Using the same spell he cast on Wolfie, he gets his revenge on Ombrax and calls him a fool for believing the words of a demon. He then throws the stoned Ombrax at the place where he has gathered many other demon stones, most probably other demons who betrayed him. Now then, Devil House didn't expect Wolfie to still be alive. Of course he's frustrated. A single barbarian destroyed his entire army and nearly slimed him as well. Meanwhile, Wolfie tells Lee that the hunters aren't strong enough to fight the demons. He asks if there are any stronger guys other than them. Lee reveals that unfortunately, he's the strongest one in Korea, but other nations have hunters far stronger than him. With no one like that here, Wolfie has no choice but to descend into the Underhell alone. Lee tries to calm him down, saying that he doesn't need to rush things like that. A demon showing up was an irregular anomaly. He thinks that it's highly unlikely that any immediate problems will pop up soon. Wolfie doesn't agree because something strange is going on. A couple of hours have passed since he defeated Umbrax, yet the darkness hasn't lifted at all. The sun is still red, the sky is still dark. Just then they hear the ground shaking, and Wolfie feels a familiar aura. Once again, a volcano erupts from the underhell, and Demon Volculus shows up in Seoul. Demon Batwing appears in Daejeon. Demon Astaroth, the eye candy, appears in Paju. Volculus, Batwing, and Astaroth have begun wreaking havoc right after spawning into this unknown territory. Wolfie is in Seoul, so he notices Volculus from the window of his 75th floor balcony and jumps out right away to deal with him. He just defeated a demon, and another has appeared right away. He wonders if the demon invasion has started once again after all. He finds it really unusual, but he still needs to deal with it. Meanwhile, Lee is shocked to see demons appearing back to back. Even more shocking is this barbarian jumping out of the 75th floor like it's nothing. Yeah, Lee feels bad for the demons who are picking a fight with Wolfie. Yuna has regained consciousness, by the way, 10 minutes into the past at the residence of the Blue Dragon family in Paju, where Go Yuna, the successor to the Blue Dragon family, is fully indulged in her training. She's doing great, but it's still not satisfactory to her. As the successor to this family, she needs to become stronger. She won't let others sway her again. She won't let those praises get to her head and experience another promotion exam incident where she was quickly and ruthlessly humbled. She's fully determined to catch the Constellation's eye again and form a proper contract this time after the last one was terminated. Instead of getting depressed over it, she's using that humiliation as a motivating tool. Her determination is visible from the palm of her hand. Just then, her dad walks in and praises her excellent stance, saying that she's ready to take over the leadership of this family. Unk is in tears while saying that. This is how dads treat their daughters, and in the case of sons, we have already seen Jinwoo and his dad. That guy literally ordered cleaners to clean up his waste of a nut. Yuna tries to stop her dad from embarrassing her more. By the way, this guy is an S-rank hunter, Go Sung-young. She knows very well about the areas she's lacking and how she needs to be recognized by the Constellation again. This makes Papa Go even more proud, so more tears start rolling down. She then asks if everything is alright outside because things seem a bit noisy. Knowing how stressed Yuna already is with the training, Papa Go decides not to tell her about the Ombrax attack in Seoul. Just then, they hear a loud noise from right outside. They rush out only to find Astaroth getting ready to turn this place upside down. Papa Go takes his battle stance and tells Yuna to hurry inside and inform the association about the demon's appearance. Before taking him out, Astaroth asks Go Sung if he knows where the Barbarian is right now. Turns out, these three demons didn't appear for no reason. They were commanded by Devil House to ascend to the surface and search for the Barbarian. In that meeting, Volculus asked a very sensible question. How are they supposed to find him among all the humans? Devil House replies that finding him would be easy. Just show up on the surface and you'll see a brainless fool charging forward at you while swinging his weapon. Whoever brings him here will get a reward. On the surface, Volculus still thinks that the details about Barbarian were too vague. No sane person would charge at him. Yeah, bro, you couldn't be more wrong. He sees a single person actually charging at him while swinging his weapon. Devil House's description was on point after all. Volculus laughs at Wolfie for running to his demise and decides to end it quickly with one punch. The scene then cuts to Astaroth versus Papa Go. Unfortunately, Papa Go is humbled by the demon baddie quickly. He's shocked at seeing the difference in power between a demon and the strongest class of hunters. Astaroth still praises him for putting up a good fight and then asks for the information regarding the Barbarian. Papa Go ain't giving a single F to her, let alone any information. Unfortunately, Astaroth doesn't take the disrespect lightly and sends him to air jail while holding him by the neck. Yuna is back after informing the association. She's stunned to see her father already defeated by the demon. She wants to help him, but can she do anything when she doesn't even have a contract with a constellation? Even if she steps in, that would only result in 2 casualties instead of 1. If only her contract wasn't terminated, she could have done something right now. She's even worn out after the training, so what's the point when even her father, who's way stronger, lost to the demon? Yuna's brain is filled with all the negative thoughts. Just then, her eyes meet Papa Go's eyes, and he tells her that it's alright for her not to do anything. He wishes her to stay safe and says his farewell. Just as Astaroth is about to crack the bones, she notices Yuna already mid-attack. Astaroth didn't even see her move until it was too late. Yuna successfully forces her to go into a defensive stance to retrieve her father. Papa Go apologizes to her for making her step into this battle for his sake. He tells her to fall back, saying that the demon is too strong for her. Yuna refuses, saying that she's definitely facing her. Also, she apologizes for taking so long to react. She thought she was ready to grasp any opportunity that came her way, but useless excuses kept filling up her head. Never again will she hesitate. Never again will she doubt. Yuna's resolve impresses the constellation, and it pays tribute to her for not crumbling in the face of fear. Right away, the constellation offers to form a formal contract with Go Yuna. Yuna forms the contract with the Spearman of the Blue Rose, Joan of Arc, and officially becomes the successor of this family. Astaroth isn't pleased with the timing of this contract formation, so she decides to end Yuna before she becomes a problem. However, Yuna dodges the attack using Water Walk, And before Astaroth can even understand what's happening, Yuna uses the spear of penetration from behind and delivers the decisive blow. Back to the main event. Wolfie sees the giant powerful punch coming his way and uses his sword to block it. Meanwhile, Yuna is still confused to see another demon appearing without any signs. For now, she has the front row tickets to see Wolfie block the punch and use its momentum to get into Volcalus's blind spot. Once again, Wolfgang charges straight and swings his sword at Volcalus's chest. Forget the punch. This is what a mighty attack looks like. One hit and Volcalus is on the ground. Yuna doesn't know which of the two is actually a demon. Unfortunately, she can't focus on the battle anymore after her car gets crushed by the debris. Wolfie lands right in front of her to Aura Farm. Not to Aura Farm, but to ask why Yunha followed him here, especially since she's so weak. Again, he's not insulting her, he's just stating facts. Even with a woman's brain, Yunha understands that much by now, so she tells him that she's here to brief him about the situation. 3 demons have spawned simultaneously in 3 different locations, Volcalus and Seoul, the second one in Paju, which is close by, and the third in Daejeon, which is a bit farther away. Yeren was right, humans of this era have a really fast intelligence network. Wolfie very politely asks the vice president which destination would be better for him. He wants her to use the information and suggest where he should go. Meanwhile, Devil House is disappointed and angry at Volcalas for losing so fast. He should have tried to lure Wolfie into the Underhell instead of trying to face him. At least he still has hope. 2 of the demons are still alive. If only one of them drags Wolfie to the Underhell where there's no sun to replenish his energy, Devil House will have a massive advantage. Back in Paju, Astaroth can't believe that an attack of this caliber came from a human. Seeing that it's working, Yuna doubles down on Astaroth with the same attack. Astaroth is heavily injured, but Yuna's stamina is also taking a massive hit. She was already tired from the training, and now the Constellation's power is too much for her to handle. Anyways, she thinks she can last until the demon is defeated. Just then, Astaroth reaches the maximum tolerance level and transforms into this ugly but strong creature. She didn't think she would have to reveal her true form because of some humans. Yuna realizes that things have just gotten out of her control at this point. Astaroth uses all her arms and legs to land some combo hits. Yuna successfully blocks them by moving her weapon in a circular motion. Just as she is about to counter, she realizes that she moved too slowly, and now Astaroth has a sure-hit attack. Just then, Astaroth's arms and legs are chained by some unknown men. Turns out, the secret royal inspector is here to apprehend the wicked. Junhuan introduces himself to Yuna, saying that he was in the area to scout a hunter but rushed over here as soon as he saw a demon. Yuna tells him to back off because a C rank won't be able to handle this demon. Junhuan tells her not to worry because his constellation grows stronger the more wicked the enemy is. The enemy being a demon is a huge plus for him. Even Astaroth doesn't understand what's happening. The more force she exerts, the harder she's pressed down. After restricting her movement, Junhuan tells Yuna to land the final hit. Yuna charges in and succeeds, only to find out that getting close to Astaroth was a mistake. In her mouth is this strange stone that might be the last thing Yuna sees in her life. Yuna doesn't have enough time to react. We then see a splash of blood. The blood doesn't belong to Yuna but to Papa Go, who begged the constellation to grant him power to protect his daughter. Just when Yuna attacked, he begged the constellation to even use his life if that meant helping and protecting his daughter. The constellation nods at Papa Go. It senses the impending death of Go Sung and grieves. It then bestows authority upon Papa Go and grants him power that surpasses limits until Papa Go's life runs out. Papa Go didn't ask for this power just to shield his daughter. He did stick his spear into Astaroth. During that, Astaroth's attack also got through to him, so he tells Itarashai Era to his daughter. The explosion is from the attack, and it's not Mr. Go going up in smoke. Yunha starts walking into the smoke to check on her father. Junhuan tries to stop her but fails. Just then, they hear Astaroth saying that she didn't expect Papa Go to throw his life away, thinking that a single human would be enough to take her down. As she is about to send Yunha to her father's final home, she notices something terrifying. An immense aura approaches them at great speed. She turns around and it's Wolfgang charging at her at full speed. One look at Wolfie and Astaroth immediately realizes that fighting this man wouldn't end well for her. Her only option is to bait Wolfie towards the gate to the underworld and take him to Underhell. She tells Wolfie that she has something to discuss with him. Before she could complete her sentence, Wolfie gave her the Gojo Satoru treatment. As Asta/Roth's upper body is still flying across, maybe to the other side, Wolfie uses the opportunity to aura farm, saying that he's Wolfgang the Grape, a barbarian who doesn't entertain proposals from demons. Turns out, Batwing has also been taken down. That area suffered more casualties than any other area. They did manage to win, thanks to this beautiful but worn-out lady named Kim Hyun, an S-rank hunter, but at a high cost. In Daejeon, everyone is clearing out the area. Kim Hyun is also here helping everyone. She knows everyone is exhausted, and that's exactly why she's between them to hype them up. She's the leader of Sun Guild. Not only did she play the lead role in the battle against Batwing, but she is also directing the post-war recovery. Some people are really worth every penny they are being paid. A few days later, the Korean Hunter Association's president Lee calls all the guild leaders for a meeting to summarize the current situation and discuss their future course of action. First of all, he informs everyone that demons have descended upon South Korea, 3 of them at the same time. The guilds who were far away from the active zone didn't believe the rumors until now. Ha-Young-un, the leader of Moonlight Guild, asks why there weren't any warnings beforehand. Yuja, the leader of Tabaek Guild, is also having a hard time believing it since demons never appeared in Korea before. As proof, Lee shows them a photograph from Daejeon. All the nearby cameras were destroyed, so this is the best quality he can show right now. It's still enough to prove his point though. Even if it isn't, the very person who defeated that demon is in the room. Hyeon confirms everything Lee told them, while adding that most of downtown Daejeon was destroyed and dozens of Sun Guild hunters lost their lives. All that against a single demon. Even as an S-ranker, she confesses that she was no match for the demon despite being one of the top combatants in the country. This baddie is the leader of Songshin Guild, an A-ranker named Kang Mien. She's the one from that Slime King incident. Now that everything is out in the open, Lee brings out the final guest to this meeting, the guy who single-handedly slayed the other 2 demons, Hunter Wolfgang from the MU agency. Wolfie walks in with Jinwon and Yeren, who are nervous to be in a room full of S-rankers. The guildmasters haven't seen Wolfie before, so they can't just accept him in the meeting like that. One guy particularly makes a big fuss about it. The representative of Gold Agency named Jung Gapsu thinks that MU Agency must have staged this demon occurrence to promote their own agency. MU kinda has a reputation for not caring about anything if money is involved. Yeren agrees and joins the ops to roast her own teammate. Lee tells this Gapsu guy to refrain from throwing insults, but that only spurs him on. He's now offended to be called to a non-serious meeting where nobodies are presented in front of them. He tells everyone that Junwon is a C-rank hunter with a useless constellation ability, so useless that he quit being a hunter and now works as an agency manager. He even tells everyone that the fraud gang in front of them is just an F-rank hunter. He doesn't believe the BS about him being awakened from a stone state to save the day. The city gets destroyed by demons appearing out of nowhere, and then an unknown F-ranked hunter deals with the demons that even the S-ranks would have a hard time with. Yunwan is getting worried now. Not about these insults, but Wolfie losing his cool because the property repair costs are going to be massive. Just as Yurin is about to explain, the door opens and Papa Go walks in with Yuna, saying that he can personally guarantee Wolfie's credibility. Baddie Mion rushed to Paju to help deal with Astur Roth, but by the time she got there, the demon had vanished. Papa Go was lying on the ground, almost logging out of this world, but Junhwan asked Mion to wait and watch. Wolfie used the High Angel's healing ability to cure Papa Go. It wasn't perfect, but it sure was on a higher level than any of those saw before. Mion immediately recognized Wolfie from the Slime King incident. She already had doubts about him being some special guy with special powers. Seeing him use that high-level healing ability made her sure that Wolfie was worth looking into. Back to the present, Papa Go testifies that Wolfie slayed the demon that attacked their guild and brought him back from the Door of Death. On his name as the leader, he guarantees Wolfie's credibility. Even Mion adds that she didn't see Wolfie in action, but she did see him saving Gosung's life. Now that 2 of the guild leaders, along with the president, are backing him, other leaders are forced to consider Wolfie's might. Lee then explains the whole stoning scenario and adds that Wolfie is a hero who fought in the Holy Demonic War 1,000 years ago. Lil Bro doesn't know that it was more like a Wolfie versus demons war at that point. They have no historical proof to back this, but Wolfie's power level makes it quite convincing, which is why he asked for Wolfie's help. Even Gapsu is now slightly tilting in favor, but he still thinks that they shouldn't get their hopes up from an F-ranker. Wolfie finally speaks up and again, without any intention of disrespecting anyone, he tells everyone that they are weak. Compared to the warriors Wolfie fought with, the humans today are pathetic and weaker than newborn cats. This might be a little too much for Gapsu to quietly accept, so he lashes out again, saying that an F-ranker has no right to trash talk them like this. Wolfie tells him to be quiet, for he is telling the truth. He repeats that other than Heian, no one would survive a fight against a demon. Gapsu has now walked up to Wolfie, saying that his muscles won't scare him. While he's still pointing his finger at Wolfie's face, Junwan feels a shiver running through his bones. Gapsu tells Wolfie to take his lackeys and get the hell out of here. The noise pollution has gotten too far now, so Wolfie decides to use his fist to shut Gapsu up. Within a second, Gapsu disappears. Where is he? Lying unconscious after being slammed into that wall. Every leader in the room is shocked, while Junhwan and Yeren are like, we knew this would happen. They still commend him for holding back so long. Everyone expected Wolfie to be strong, but not strong enough to take out an S-ranker with a single punch. Wolfie then announces that he's going to teach everyone in here to fight so they can survive and protect others. Despite the show of his power, the S-rankers can't accept someone who just showed up to become their sensei. It's not about ego, but they still aren't familiar with Wolfie's strength and if he really is strong enough to be their sensei. Junhwan's soul is leaving his body at this point. Wolfie is way too straightforward, and everyone who takes offense will create a scenario that results in MU agency paying property repair costs. Wolfie explains that he was like these guys as well. He thought he would protect everyone as long as he was strong. However, the demon attacks were more wicked than he thought. As a result, he lost his family and comrades 1,000 years ago. He couldn't protect anyone. He doesn't want the tragedy to repeat itself. He doesn't want anyone to go through that again. That's why he's going to make everyone here strong enough to protect everything precious to them. He understands that everyone would be having doubts, so let's clear that first. He tells every S-ranker in the room, the strongest people in all of Korea, to attack him at once. They shall establish the hierarchy before beginning. Someone strong enough to take down an S-ranker with a single blow, defeat a demon with a single slash, and save a dying person with high-class healing ability. Any of the three would make one the strongest, but Wolfie is just unbelievable. Even now, he's dodging every attack the S-rankers are throwing at him. Mind you, he's doing that without moving his feet a single inch. This muscle dude tries to use some WWE moves on Wolfie, only to find out that pulling him is like pulling a mountain. He knew that, but he still wanted to cop a feel at those abs. Our generous sensei is even giving a lecture while dealing damage to everyone's egos, saying that one must be flexible, but still, his footing should be strong. Hyeon isn't participating, but she's surely disturbed at seeing multiple S-rankers getting overpowered like that. Just what is this creature? Wolfie reminds everyone that the 5 of them collectively couldn't make him move. Just then, this guy decides to use his ultimate trump card. He can't take this humiliation anymore, so he uses Meteor Fall and drops it on Wolfie. The loud explosion left everyone speechless. No one wanted the fight to go this far, but they couldn't stop this fire guy in time. Even Muscle Guy thinks that Jung went too far. Jung knows what he did, but he pretends to regret going this far. Just then, they hear Wolfie asking, "Is this it?" The smoke clears, and the monster Barbarian is still standing in his place without a single scratch. The leaders are finally realizing that nothing makes sense when it comes to plot armor. Since everyone has realized they can't land a hit on Wolfie, he decides to give them a small show of his power. He takes a step forward and slams his foot into the ground. The sheer strength of that kick on the ground sends everyone flying. Oh, and it also damages the training ground, so please donate to the MU agency to save them from bankruptcy. Now that the hierarchy is established, Wolfie tells everyone why the strongest 5 couldn't last for 5 minutes. It's because they borrow power from constellations and rely too much on them. Without that, they are weaklings who didn't train enough to get strong. As their sensei, he forbids everyone for a week from using the power of constellations. The leaders can't understand the reasoning behind this order, so Wolfie tells them that angelic powers and the power of constellations cannot be properly used in the realm of demons, the Underhell. Their own strength is going to play the major role there. Okay, stop, Wolfie. The leaders had no clue that the plan is to head into the Underhell. Why should they go to the demon stronghold, where they will be at a clear disadvantage? It would be far less dangerous to defend against the demons when they come up to the surface. Wolfie replies that he's training them so they can protect others. If the demons start their invasion and reach the surface, it will already be too late and defeat the purpose. Even if they defeat them, they will suffer more damage. Ultimately, they'll have to go down. He then walks up to Hyeon and tells her that she doesn't need to spar with him, nor is the training necessary for her. That's because she has already reached her growth limit. It's rare to see someone work so hard that they reach their natural growth limit. She has Wolfie's respect for that, but training won't make her any stronger now. Deep down, Hyeon was already aware of this, but she didn't want to accept it. She wants to get stronger so she doesn't lose anyone again, like the friends and comrades she lost against Batwing. The training shall begin tomorrow. On his way back, Wolfie tells Junwan that he's hungry. Junwan happily agrees to treat him to a meal. He'll put it on the company's tab. After all, they will already be paying millions in the repairing cost. A couple more thousands won't make any difference. The manager is on the phone, by the way, trying to ask every guild leader to pay 100 million won as a lecture from Wolfie fee. Yerin is back in her office, where her colleagues are about to look up internal confidential data from the Hunter Association. Jiho asks how the meeting went. Yerin casually tells them that Wolfie knocked out an S-ranker and challenged everyone at once to establish hierarchy. Since she already knew how that would go, she came back. Thanks to Wolfie, they were given access to this confidential information. Jiho looked up at all the stone people across the world. Unfortunately, everyone crumbled into sand when the curse lifted. Everyone except Wolfie. This is something for Jiho to think about. Why was their result different from others? To think about it, Jiho has passed on to her own world, so the other 3 decide to investigate Underhell. Yerin finds out that ordinary humans can't even survive near the entrance of Underhell. Even the strong hunters cannot stay inside Underhell for long before their HP drains to 0. She looks up a few more leaks. Actual leaks, not the promotional leaks. While looking through the probable entrances to Underhell, they notice a familiar place. They see the picture of the cave where they first found Wolfie. That cave is an entrance to the Underhell. Wolfie is currently in a 5-star hotel, admiring the view and the association's deep pockets. It would have been nice if he could enjoy this view with his family. Just then, his phone rings, and it's Yerin informing him about the latest news. They have found the entrance to Underhell. She tells him that it's the deepest part of the cave where they found him. However, Yerin's claim is instantly denied by Wolfie, saying that if that cave was an entrance, he would have sensed the demon's aura. Yerin, who has already lost her entire team and is barely keeping her eyes open, wonders if the entrance is sealed and would only open under certain conditions. That should be possible, and that explains why Wolfie didn't sense any demon's aura. He also suggests Yeren look into the Red Moon because they might be related. Now that Yeren knows where she should direct the investigation, she hangs up, saying that she'll contact him once she finds something worthy of sharing. Later that day, Wolfie is in the Hunter Association sparring room where all the guild leaders have gathered. They don't want to submit to this new guy, but they are fully aware now that Wolfie is much stronger than them, and this session will surely be beneficial for them. Gotta let go of this pride until they are stronger. While they are all standing in the back, Hyeon is alone in the front confronting Wolfie. Wolfie already told her that this training session wouldn't do any good for her, but Hyeon doesn't like how Wolfie is setting her limits. She has no intention of stopping here, so she requests a 1v1 spar. If she leaves a single scratch on Wolfie's body, she should be allowed to participate in the training. Wolfie doesn't understand her reasoning, but one spar isn't going to harm anyone. Hyeon knows that she can't beat Wolfie in terms of strength, but when it comes to speed, she's much superior. Right away, Hyeon charges at Wolfie at max speed. Even the S-rankers couldn't keep up with that speed. Maybe Wolfie won't follow her movements either. Wolfie blocks it with ease, telling everyone that reading the flow of air is better than just relying on their eyes. Hyeon isn't done yet. This is just the beginning. She keeps throwing attacks from every direction, and each time Wolfie blocks it. At least she's not letting him attack, right? No, he isn't being pushed back. There still hasn't been a single effective hit yet. Yui is also guiding Hyeon that her attacks are becoming predictable. She should be more flexible. Hyeon immediately jumps back before a surprise attack comes her way. She brings out a bow that shoots 5 arrows at once, thinking that Wolfie would have a hard time blocking it. My pretty future wife, that bro remains unharmed against 5 S-rankers, and you think 5 arrows would do something. Of course, the attack is strong and fast enough to not give Wolfie a chance to dodge. By the time Hyeon lands, Wolfie is already standing behind her with his sword in front and the arrows in his hand to mark the end of the spar. Catching the arrows made with Constellation's authority like that is low-key scary. Not just that, but he got to her in a single leap. She doesn't even stand a chance in speed. If this was a real battle, she would have gone to the afterlife by now. Hyeon has realized that Wolfie was right about her reaching the max limit, but now that they have come this far, she decides to go all out. Suddenly, her aura starts to change and she has gone beyond the levels of any of the S-rankers in this room. However, Wolfie notices that this power is eating away at her life force. This is Kim Hyeon's unique skill called Overdrive. She's doing everything to go beyond her limits. She finally gets close enough to land a clear hit since Wolfie's sword is on the ground. Both react right away and the clash of swords turns everyone blind. Others can't even stand watching the clash, let alone facing either Hyeon or Wolfie. The smoke clears and the one standing is Wolfie, while Hyeon is lying unconscious on the ground. Wolfie didn't knock him out. It was the effect of Overdrive. Also, if she used the Overdrive correctly, Wolfie thinks that she might have actually landed a critical hit. As you can see, she was at least able to scratch Wolfie's face slightly. Later at the Hunter Hospital, Hyeon wakes up distressed over her total defeat. Even Overdrive couldn't do anything against Wolfie other than a scratch. She's frustrated over how weak she is. Just then, someone knocks on the door. Hyeon clearly states that she's not accepting any visitors right now, but this weirdo visitor she got has brought 7 boxes of family-sized pizzas. Wolfie reminds her that she needs to eat to get better quickly. Hyeon gets that, but come on bro, 7 boxes. Korean hunters are looked down upon when compared to the global standards. That may sound cold, but it's actually true. They are weak. Hyeon, on the other hand, became the hope for these disparaged Korean hunters. That's because no one as talented as she had ever been born in Korea before. She could surpass President Lee in just a few years, the greatest talent who would elevate the nation's standing. She was cheered on and praised by everyone. In the wise words of Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. The burden was heavy, but not heavy enough to crush this baddie. She could handle the pressure, although it took her some time to get used to it. Hearing Korea's hope wherever she went wasn't easy, but the comrades she met back then reached out to me. Please don't be another Merry Christmas Corrido incident, please. They were the only ones who respected her as a fellow human and not the hope. They were strong and reliable, but not as skilled as her though. However, the raids were enjoyable with them because they were the only friends she ever made. I see where this is going. After the dungeon clearance, she was flooded by pure journalism questions. As everyone knows, 98% of the journalists are restarted, so you can't expect a decent question from them. They are deliberately bad at the one thing their job requires. Whenever the media would exhaust her, her friends would provide her with a comfort zone. Maybe this guy wanted to provide a different zone, but he's on top of the friend zone because he's not Hyeon's type like me, but he can at least bring a smile to Hyeon's face. Gotta hand him that. Unfortunately, her friends were hiding something. They were targeted by the public for dragging down Korea's hope to their level. They were accused of ruining Korea's future, but like good friends, they kept ignoring it because they knew Hyeon needed them. Her smile is what matters the most. After some time, the insults got to them, and they decided to restore the guild's trampled honor by setting out to clear an A-rank dungeon without her. That way, they could show everyone that they deserved to be by Hyeon's side. The pressure returned to her. Thankfully, her friends returned safely. That's because Hyeon cleared out the dangerous monsters beforehand without telling them. She told them not to leave her out of the dungeon raid ever again. She doesn't care about the guild's honor. She cares about them and prohibits them from pulling something like this again. Unfortunately, her strategy backfired because her friends thought they could now clear an S-rank dungeon as well. The next day, they were met with a tragic fate. By the time Heian arrived, it was already too late. I knew it was another Merry Christmas, Kirito. Heian blamed herself for secretly clearing out the strong monsters of the A-rank dungeon and bringing this fate upon her. Subjugation of that S-rank dungeon did spread her name, and her guild's honor was restored. This feat got her promoted to an S-ranked hunter, but none of it mattered to her anymore. She lost the only people she so desperately wanted to protect. She now has to carry the guilt of securing the spot as Korea's most promising hunter through the deaths of her friends. She wanted to end her life as well, but every time she tried, the final moments of her friends flashed before her eyes. She started pretending to be aloof in front of others but was suffering from loneliness. She then made a decision to never go through this again, to become strong enough to protect what matters. Putrita made most of those pizza boxes himself. Wolfie tells her that he can relate to this hopeless feeling. He now understands why Yuion is so obsessed with getting stronger. Heian confesses that she knew she had reached her limits, but she didn't want to accept it. In the end, she couldn't get as strong as she needed to be. Instead of saying some comforting words, Wolfie takes another bite of the pizza and tells her that it's life. She happens. He then asks her if she really wants to get stronger. Heian is confused because he's the one who told her that she has reached her limit. Wolfie clarifies that he only said she won't get stronger through that training. He tells her that the past that has imprisoned her and created this obsession to get stronger has manifested in a way that eats away at her life force. This will ultimately destroy her. He asks her if her late friends would approve of this method. Instead, she should expand her limits, like becoming a 1-liter bottle from a 500 ml bottle. His goal is really low. Most warriors who try it end up breaking themselves in the process. He asks her if she dares to risk her life. Of course she has. Without skipping a beat, she tells him that she has more than enough courage. As long as she gets to stand proudly in front of her friends in the end, she'll do everything. Wolfie then decides to entrust his friend to her. With him by her side, she'll become stronger. But for now, she needs to eat, so Wolfie pushes a slice of pizza into her mouth. They will continue this conversation once she's discharged. A week later, we are taken to Vatican City. Inside the audience chamber, the Vatican Cardinal Benedicto is discussing this demon invasion with Yeren and Dr. Chui. Yeren tells him that demons are planning to finish what they started 1,000 years ago. She adds that the red moon seems to play a crucial role in all of this. The day is coming sooner than they expected it to be. Benedicto then gets up and asks Yeren and Dr. Chui to follow him. He leads them to this underground vault of the secret archives. For the two archaeologists, this is like heaven. They didn't think Vatican archives actually existed. In the vault, there's this highly guarded book called Bellum Recordum, the Chronicles of the Holy Demon War. Benedicto explains that there was a time when humans were almost erased by demons, somewhere around 1,000 years ago. This book in front of them is the only document that recorded that era. He then takes out the book and shows them the contents of that book. This record of war against demons is more like a record of a massacre. During that time, the red moon stayed up in the sky 24/7 and empowered demons who drove out the angels and hunted humans. When the humans were pushed to the brink of extinction, some warriors entered the battlefield in the protection of angels. He then shows them the greatest warrior among them, the warrior who lost all his comrades yet single-handedly slaughtered the demon lords and cut down the red moon. It's obvious from the picture. The warrior he's talking about is Wolfgang de Krayf, the strongest warrior with the hardest abs, the hero who ended the Holy War, the last barbarian. Unfortunately, he was cursed by the last demon and sealed away. Yeren picks up the story from here and tells Benedicto that the curse is lifted and this last barbarian, whose name is Wolfgang, is currently with them. Benedicto is shocked to hear that Wolfie is awakened, but this only confirms his suspicion. There's no doubt about it now. He must have woken up to fulfill his mission to eradicate demons now that the demons will begin their invasion sooner or later. An overwhelming number of demons might spawn on the surface any time now. While Unk is trying to warn Yeren and Dr. Chui about the invasion coming soon, the sky turns red. The red moon is back. It's not Valdrova, the red dragon, but the demons. The invasion is already in motion. Yeren's phone vibrates, and it's the news about the red moon and demons appearing in Seoul. The demons already have the city in a state of chaos. Just then, the church suffers damage as well, so Benedicto reveals that a red moon has appeared around the Vatican as well. Yeren is shocked to hear about 2 red moons at the same time, but Unk clarifies that the situation isn't as bad as Yeren thinks. It's way worse than that. Demons have appeared all around the world. Yeah, they're cooked. We are then shown demons in different parts of the world wreaking havoc. The entire Earth is surrounded by red moons at this point. Meanwhile, on the 3rd floor of Underhell, this scary demon regains consciousness after being stoned for so long. Devilhouse used way too much of his power to send the red moons and a significant number of demons he gathered over the past 1,000 years. He might have gone overboard with the attack, but he wants to make sure Wolfie feels the urgency to come to him here in the Underhell. He wants to deal with the only real threat, Wolfie. Down here where there's no sun and the power of angels would mean nothing. Devil House is acting like he sent the strongest, most barbaric demon named Rumi to the surface. You guys will see Rumi in the video coming soon. Watch out. Back at the church, Benedicto reveals that the day that was foreshadowed in the Bellum Recordum has finally come. He shows Yeren the prophecy in its final chapter that says when the red moon that resurrects demons covers the eye of the sun, the demons shall burst through the surface and eliminate all other life forms. The humans are advised to face the end with their own strength because the angels cannot sing of salvation in their stead. Dr. Chui is devastated to hear that there's no salvation, but Benedicto explains that this isn't to discourage them but a hint for humans to fight on their own. To be precise, the heroes among humans who became stars. Humans shall face the demons with the power of constellations. The church starts crumbling, so Yeren uses her constellation, Intruder of the Slumbering Ruins. Wait, did she always have a constellation, or am I high? Using the constellation's power, Yeren and Doc are teleporting to the coordinates of the last relic she touched. She asks Benedicto if he would like to join, but Unk has decided to stay here to help the needy. Meanwhile, a US satellite informs the Pentagon Command Center about the current red moon situation all over the world, with demons pouring out. Meet Mr. Patrick Seth, the Secretary of Defense who's no Mamdani but looks capable enough. His baddie secretary informs him about the message from Benedicto that the final war recorded in the Bellum Recordum has begun. Seth didn't expect the book to be actually real. Anyways, he orders the F-35 squadron to intercept the demons immediately and destroy the red moons. Hangman 1 locks the target moon and fires a missile. To his surprise, the missile passes right through the moon and explodes. This leads them to the conclusion that physical attacks are ineffective against the moon. Just then, a demon flies to Hangman 1 and with one swift punch, it not only destroys the fighter jet, but also takes him down. Baddie's secretary informs Seth about Hangman 1 becoming Fallen Man 1. Also, the analysts have sent a report that the red moon is a highly dense concentration of intangible energy that cannot be destroyed with physical weapons. Seth orders them to fight the demons head-on to keep the damage minimal. He orders Hangman 2 and 3 to put down the demon who reduced the number of hangmans by 1. Right away, the jets fire at the demon intensely, making enough holes in his body to satisfy the entire demon realm. To their surprise, some dark energy flows from the moon into the demon and he's back to perfect condition. The destroyed demon has resurrected instantly and is heading towards Hangman 2 and 3. Baddie's secretary informs Seth that demons are being supplied with energy from the red moon. Seth figures that the regular military is powerless against them, so he orders the deployment of 666. Meanwhile, Yeren and Doctor are back in Seoul. The last relic she touched was Wolfie's, so he must be here, yet they can't find him. Just then, the demon falls right in front of them. They are about to say their last wishes until they realize that the demon's life subscription is about to end. They wonder what happened, but they don't have to guess for long because the demon slayer with Ab's breathing, 7th form, is here. He asks what Yeren and Choi are doing here, while the two are too stunned to give him a response. Yui is the greatest superpower right now. The US didn't train their hunters to eliminate demons. Instead, they provided their hunters the world's best training to gain the upper hand against other countries. These soldiers are meant to have superior combat power as a deterrent for war. Not gonna lie, that's very freedom-coded. However, their mindset changed the day the red moon rose. They thought of themselves as fortunate to provide such elite training to their soldiers. This machine gun guy who's enjoying this a little too much is Silver from Task Force 666 with Constellation Doctor prescribing Steel Rain. Oh, it makes sense now. Next up is the sniper guy who intends to eradicate the demons like hair on his head. He's Isaac, with the Constellation Judge Beyond the Lens. Next up is this baddie who's firing in the air for the love of the game. She's Claire, with the Constellation Sister of the Battlefield bearing arms. Claire is about to get jumped by a demon because ladies first. Thankfully, Isaac, being their captain, has her back. 4 more demons come charging at Clary, but this time it's the doctor's turn to prescribe them all with a rain of bullets. All 5 demons are dealt with quickly, but within a few seconds they resurrect again. Claire is irritated by these demons coming back like a toxic ex, but Isaac is calm. No one is immortal, so they just gotta fight until all of their lives are erased. Again, Silver seems a little too excited to hear this decision. The battle continues, and the scene shifts to Seoul. Demon resurrects again and announces his revival with a loud roar. He instantly starts crying when the real demon attacks him before he can complete the roar. Wolfie wants him to rest for good now, but he keeps coming back. For the 5th time, the demon comes back to life. But Yeren notices something positive. The red moon shrinks every time the demon resurrects. Thankfully, the energy isn't unlimited, but Doc is right to be worried because no one other than Wolfie can eliminate a demon this easily. Others would have a hard time defeating one just once. Yeren informs Wolfie about the moon shrinking like it's taking a cold shower. Wolfie can keep draining the energy, but something is bothering him. He was told that the number of demons shrank 1,000 years earlier. Devil House was the last one, but nothing seems different from his war at that time. These aren't new demons. They seem familiar to him, and even tried to converse with him. The demons who would massacre indiscriminately want to talk to him. Something is definitely fishy. He doesn't know that all this is to lure him to under hell. Anyways, there are too many demons to deal with. Just then, Yeren informs him about the message from the Hunter Association. Lots of demon appearances are reported in Daejun. They still haven't recovered from the damage caused by the last attack, so they don't have enough manpower. Yeren suggests that he head to Daejun, but Wolfie says that Daejun will be fine. They should take care of this demon and head somewhere else. Yeren doesn't understand Wolfie's decision because the Sun Guild is clearly not in a good condition. The scene shifts to Daejun, where this purple unicorn is getting pierced by arrows one after another. Of course, the arrows belong to the strongest hunter, Hyun. Man, I wish I were that demon. Anyways, she's glad that she made it in time before the demon claimed any lives. Still, this purple unicorn isn't the only demon here. There are far too many for her to deal with at once. She has to rely on others, but that only means more casualties like these guys whose attacks are useless against the armored demon. Just as the demon is about to make this guy log out of this world, Hyun fires an arrow at him to save the guy. He's saved, but Hyun can't rest easy for even a second because another one is about to bite the dust. Hyun has to be faster. A slight delay or a missed shot will cost her a human's life. The pressure is intense, yet she's doing her best to make sure history doesn't repeat itself, to make sure she doesn't lose something precious to her again. Thankfully, the guy is saved, not by Hyun, but by someone else. The friend that Wolfie mentioned is finally here, so he tells Hyun to rest easy now. The friend Wolfie entrusted to Hyun's side, who will make her stronger, is the beast Fenrir. The big leagues have entered the game, baby. See you guys in the next one.